Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Welcome to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. It's Monday morning. It's August 14th. It's the weekend after the first preseason weekend in the NFL. And
First preseason dub.
Preseason dub. Yeah, you know what? If you want to celebrate a preseason dub, call it Victory Monday. All right, we'll just call it what it is. We got the entire crew with us today. Sam Flannel, my guy, my partner in crime, joining us. JB in the booth, as usual. Gabrielle D. Phillips is at Allen Parker. She will be later this afternoon, so she's out. Matt Broder will be joining us in the second hour to give us some of his takeaways. He was up there in the press box. He was Hollywood, man.
He was.
He's up there with the big shots. He was watching the game. He's going to give us his perspective later in the show. And in the TD booth, Lucas Klotz. You know what time it is. Look at this man. He's ready to go.
We'll have Victory Mondays, like real Victory Mondays during this regular season.
You gotta keep our composure.
We saw Adrian Martinez do a 2-minute drill. We can take that with a grain of rice, if you will.
Yeah, we gotta act like we've been there. You know what I mean? We win a preseason game. It's all good. You know what I mean? And we'll talk about some of the takeaways. We'll spend a lot of, at least on this show, on some of the takeaways. Plenty to cover, too. I mean, that backup quarterback battle, disgusting. Jamison Williams, right? There's a couple of the rookies. We got some takeaway. Chase Cota, or as Spencer Raxter calls him, Chase Goda. He was out there making plays. TK85. Hey, that's the next TK85 right there, Sam Flannel. No, it was nice, though. We went down to the game. A lot of us from Woodward Sports here. Shout out to Chad Johnson. He gave us his I guess, season tickets, but they were for the preseason. But we were right next to the cameraman. We were putting on. We got to see the Detroit Lions in action, the first game. And, man, that place.
It was rocking.
It was rocking. And you could, honestly, that place was damn near sold out, to be honest with you. Yeah, I was shocked. I was shocked. Leaving, it took me about probably an hour and a half to get out of my parking garage.
Oh, no.
Like, it was one of those games. So as much as that stunk, I got to say it, Sam, the showing, that was incredible. And that gave us a little tease of what's to come for this regular season.
Oh, my goodness. How long is it going to take us all to get out of our parking garages during the regular season? But you know what? As long as the Lions win those games, it doesn't even matter. We're all going to be happy no matter what. I mean, if you go to the Monday night game against Las Vegas, assuming the Lions are still a good team, which I believe they will be, imagine what time we will all be getting home if you're going to that game. A lot of no sleep nights before Tuesday work days.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt.
That preseason game was probably more full than any of the Buccaneers' home games this year.
Probably.
Yeah.
Without it, Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield is equivalent to Adrian Martinez after what I saw. Yeah, still not Nate Sudfeld level, though. He's under. Nate Sudfeld good is gone.
Yeah, Nate Sudfeld, you know what's funny, too, and I can't wait to talk to Broder about this, because Broder, you know, I'm not saying he was like a defender of Nate Sudfeld, but he was one of the guys that were like, hey, man, like, and Nate does bring a lot of value off the field, and that's what's being reported, right? He's good for the quarterback room. He's a nice guy. You know what I mean? He's a nice guy.
He's a mini golf.
He's a mini golf.
We should keep him around. No.
I was told he was a nice guy. He was a mini golf. And then he goes out there, and I'm telling you right now, Jamison Williams played 3 quarters, which was great, and we'll get into that. But Nate Sudfeld stinks. Like, this guy sucks.
Philip C. just said Sudfeld was not that bad.
Like, I would much rather have Adrian Martinez was out there, and we made fun of Adrian Martinez.
Yeah.
He looked better than Nate Sudfeld.
Yeah, we're not saying that Adrian Martinez is like a lock for this roster or anything like that, but all we're saying is for some reason, somehow, some way, there was a talent difference between Adrian Martinez and Nate Sudfeld, and it wasn't the way you thought it was going to go. So I'm very happy Teddy Bridgewater was traded for, or signed, I should say, even more than I was before.
And this is my hot take, I think Johnny Manziel, even though he watches no film, like he could have hit us with the 0-0, he watches no film, I think he could have came onto Ford Field on Friday and given us a little more than what Nate Sudfeld did.
Probably.
So, like, and again, I'm not even a big fan of Johnny Manziel, but that's how bad Nate Sudfeld was. But again, this kind of clarifies the whole conversation with the backup quarterback. Although you never want to see Jared go down, the point I keep making, Sam Flannel, is if you need a guy to finish a game, you need a guy for a drive, hell, you need a guy for a 3-game stretch. I'll tell you one thing. I'll take anybody but Nate Sudfeld. And I'm glad the Lions solved that problem with Teddy Bridgewater.
You know what's bad news if you're Nate Sudfeld? When you're in a preseason game and you look decidedly worse than Adrian Martinez. Adrian Martinez, this will probably be the highlight of his career, leading that drive to, I guess, give the Lions a big preseason win. He looked infinitely better than Nate Sudfeld. Didn't Nate Sudfeld throw an interception on his first attempt?
The first play of the game.
It was unbelievable.
Straight to the safety.
God.
Now, I'll say this, though. The ball he threw to J-Mo was nice. Both of them. But J-Mo obviously dropped the first one, which, trust me, we'll get into all that and more. And again, this is one of those times where we're feeding so much for football that it seems like we're going to overreact to everything. That's not what today's about. We're not going to overanalyze and say J-Mo's a bust. Jahmyr Gibbs and all these guys are elite. Brian Branch is elite. Like, that's not what this is about. But you have to at least have takeaways from this game. You have to. Like, we're not going to come in today's show and be like, all right, that preseason game was nothing. We're not going to talk about it. Like, clearly, we're going to discuss it. It's the biggest thing, at least in Lions football right now. So we're going to talk about it, but we're going to try not to overanalyze everything. But I don't need to overanalyze. Nate Sudfeld is not good. Like, we knew that, right? You look at his career. That doesn't. I'm not surprised what I saw on Friday. Like, that's not overanalyzing.
I did not think Nate Sudfeld was good, but I didn't think he was that bad because this isn't even the Giants' starting defense, and he still had Jamison Williams and Sam Laporte and Jahmyr Gibbs out there. Yeah, come on.
Right. And I mean, even like John Fisher, he says, I truly do hate Jeff. Just horrible at his job all the way around. Well, John, if John loves Nate Sudfeld, then my apologies. I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just trying to tell you what I saw in person. That's what this is about, takeaways. So apologies, John, if you love Nate Sudfeld. But we have to talk about it. Like Adrian Martinez, none of these guys are going to make the team. It's going to be Teddy Bridgewater, Hendon Hooker, and Jared Goff. Those are the 3 quarterbacks you're rolling into the season with. Now, if Sudfeld's there for, being a nice guy and he's a good mentor, like, okay, fine. But Teddy Bridgewater can do all that, and he's actually better. So that was one of the first takeaways I had watching the game is, damn, Sudfeld, I'm glad they upgraded that position. Another takeaway, and we'll get into some of the rookies as well, Maurice Alexander. And I know, Justin Jackson, who retired early, unfortunately, he was going to be the kick returner. Maurice Alexander, man, I like him. Yeah. And here's the clip. You got it, Lucas, of him with the touchdown he got in that game. We all watched it in person. It was amazing. Isn't that awesome? Maurice Alexander I do like a lot. And this is a guy that was kind of fighting to be on the roster the last 2 years, but now at least it's solidified. He's going to be their big part of their special teams, which, hey, that's how you impress the coaching staff, right? Dave Phipps, you go in there and you get a touchdown on a kick return.
You get a double B button touchdown. That was a no average touchdown. He got 2 spin moves.
2 spin moves.
Embarrassed the Giants special team. That place was rocking. Like that video, it sounds like it's a regular season game or something like that. That's the craziest part about it. That's what I think made the whole game going to just absolutely worth it, because it's almost like you can feel the momentum like into the season, and it's just like everybody knows there's going to be a wild season, and that kick return just kind of got a little taste of it right there.
Right, and that was a correction. That was a punt return, but regardless, Maurice Alexander, there you go. There's your special teams guy.
There is not a single person on the Lions, or hell, even the Giants in that game, who did more to solidify their roster spot than one Maurice Alexander, because we all know that just as a wide receiver alone, he probably wouldn't make this team. But if you can do something like that as a player, make 1 or 2 explosive punt returns or kick returns every year, then you did your job. This is the type of play that can swing momentum, that can be the difference between a win and a loss. And it wasn't just any ordinary punt return. It was 95 yards. It was breaking tackles. It was everything you could ever want. If this happened in a regular season game, it would be looked at as one of the plays of the week. So bravo, Maurice Alexander. You had an opportunity and you ran with it. And not only that, he fielded a punt at the 5-yard line. That is pretty risky, but you know what? The risk paid off. A 95-yard punt return. It was the first touchdown of the game. I wasn't there, but it was probably one of the first plays of the game that had the whole place really rocking and able to celebrate. So that was just very well done by Maurice Alexander.
Right.
It's great to see somebody just basically earn their roster spot in real time.
Yeah, and you have to decide, too. Khalif Raymond or Maurice Alexander on special teams.
Sure.
Now they re-signed Khalif Raymond. He'll probably be the guy they rely on the most. But to have a guy like Maurice Alexander, first game, punt return touchdown, like, yeah, that's how you impress. Now, who knows if he'll make the roster or not? They got Khalif Raymond, and he did some special things last year against the Jets, notably. That touchdown he had on, I believe it was a punt return as well. Khalif Raymond could do that as well. So I think they'll be all right. A lot of guys, at least in these set of preseason games, this is all for evaluation. You're looking for players that could stick on this roster or just fall shy of this roster. Another guy that made a play, Brandon Joseph, undrafted free agent, but also undrafted just in general, out of Notre Dame. The safety they signed, he had a pick against Tommy DeVito, I think it was. Which,
Tommy DeVito sucks.
yeah,
too,
and that's
way.
the crazy part. We talked about this. We're like, who the hell is Tommy DeVito? And then you soon come to realize that he outplayed your starting quarterback in that game, Nate Sudfeld. So, quite frankly, Tommy DeVito wasn't too bad. But Brandon Joseph made some plays as well. It was nice to just see, honestly. A lot of guys, like Benny Snell, for example, he gets his debut, a guy they just recently signed. Jahmyr Gibbs was out there as well, making some plays on both sides of things. So, overall, there's not a ton you take away from preseason, but it's nice to see some of the guys that you watch, guys that you want to evaluate, young players, make plays. Like that's what this is all about. But, Lucas, we were down there Friday. It was a good showing.
It was.
It was me, you, Justin, Easy, Spencer, and Booner. And Booner was out there holding it down on socials, even though we were in person at the game. But do you have the clip of the heavyweights chirping Eric Gray? Because Eric Gray, running back for the Giants, was out there just trying to catch a kick return, and the heavyweights were chirping him. And this is what we need. This is the type of energy we need for the regular season. Now, when you find
give
the
me
clip.
like 5 seconds because
okay, because this is what I love too, right? The heavyweights get introduced to Eric Gray, and Eric Gray gets introduced to the heavyweights. And this is for all future guys that are coming to Ford Field. Like, this is the energy you're going to have to go up against. Guys that are in the front row that are chirping at you. And Eric Gray held his own. And I'm be honest with you, Easy said some suspicious things.
Yeah, it was sus.
He sure did.
He did.
This thing's loaded, and if we don't get it now, we'll get it coming out of break next time. This
Okay,
is
play it coming out of break. I'll tell you what, we'll go to break. When we get back, I want to get into some preseason takeaways. And we'll go around the room. You guys share your thoughts in the chat, and we'll get to those as well. But before we do that, JB, can you tell everybody about our friends over at Big Boy?
Oh, I got you, because Strawberry Fest is back at Big Boy. Try the classic breakfast items like the strawberry hotcakes or the mouth-watering red velvet waffles. But if you're not feeling breakfast, try that strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with a refreshing summer splash salad. But don't leave Big Boy without getting some dessert, because they've got the very delicious classic strawberry pie, the deep fried vanilla Oreos, and of course, the strawberry hot fudge cakes and more at your local Big Boy.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Hey, this is Mr. Kearney, Chief Academic Officer, Academy of Warren. I want to welcome you to the brand new field house. The state-of-the-art facility has a regulation basketball court, volleyball court, soccer field. It can be used for 7-on-7 football. Our K-8 academic features AM, PM latchkey, small classroom sizes, Learning Street, futuristic media center, free breakfast and lunch, Houghton Mifflin curriculum, academic games, K-8 athletics, and more. Enroll today at academywarren.net.
Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. We appreciate you guys for tuning in to the show. Don't forget, if you're not subscribed already, hit the subscribe button, like the stream. We'll try to get to 60, 70 likes if we can by the end of this segment right here. And if you can't catch the show live, you can go re-listen on any podcast platform you listen to. Just Morning Woodward Show, leave a 5-star review. It's that simple. Support the boys, support Sam and his wonderful flannels. And if you haven't already, check out the website. Latest news, especially now with Lions stuff coming out, Gabby and Matt Broder holding it down, putting out articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise. A lot there on the website as well. Like this hat that I'm wearing today. Very beautiful. Let's get into some takeaways from this preseason game because I've been foaming to get to it, right? There's a lot of things, especially watching the game in person, that I was able to see. A lot of things I was seeing, being tweeted out. And I want to start, I'll go last. I'll start with you, Sam Flannel, at least from Friday. Not that it's an overreaction to everything, but what are some of your early takeaways from the first preseason game?
All right, I'm only going to give one because I don't want to steal everybody's thunder, but there's one takeaway that really stood out to me is that this wide receiver room, and especially like who stays on the roster and who gets cut, is going to get very, very interesting as time goes on because we talked to Matt Broder, we talked to Gabrielle D. Phillips, you guys have been to training camp, and there's a couple of names that you don't really hear about very often, and one of them I would even argue is talked about as maybe a disappointment, and those are Antoine Green and Chase Cota, and they both, I would say, showed out. I think they both played about as well as you could possibly expect. They were the two leading receivers on the team in this game in terms of wide receivers, James Mitchell being the other. So if you're a guy like even Denzel Mims, I don't know if your roster spot is necessarily guaranteed, and maybe guys like Chase Cota and Antoine Green are doing everything they can in the preseason to make sure that they make the 53-man roster. So this wide receiver room, which especially without Jamison Williams is looked at as one of the weaknesses of this team, actually might have more talent than we even think. That was my number one takeaway. Like, especially watching Antoine Green and Chase Cota get targeted, albeit at the end of the game playing against backups, but it was still, they showed out. And then a guy who I think was a little bit disappointing in the wide receiver room, another guy who could be watching their roster spot dissipate before his eyes, is Dylan Drummond. I didn't think he looked very impressive. I mean, Lucas, am I wrong?
Here's the thing. When Dylan Drummond got the ball thrown his way and it was like a serviceable pass, he came down with it. There was an easy touchdown he could have had in the red zone. And Nate Sudfeld, Drummond was probably running like a 7-yard out. And he kind of was like angling out a little bit, but it was in the red zone. And he beat dude out of the break by like a yard or two, and Sudfeld put air on it enough for the corner to come back and make a play on it. And if he would have just hit Drummond in stride, he would have had a touchdown. I actually liked what I saw out of Dylan Drummond. I think Dylan Drummond has a real legit spot of making this team after watching him, just because he has the NFL size. From watching him, he does have the NFL route running, and he just has all the tangible things. Now, can he do it consistently is the thing. And can he do it when he has the ball in a correct position? And when we see like Teddy Bridgewater step in next week, I think that's when we can really evaluate what all these receivers do, because they didn't have a shot out there with Nate Sudfeld.
Let me just respond. I'm sorry. Let me just respond to that quickly. But I know which play you're talking about. I still think that if you ask Dylan Drummond, he would say he should have came down with that.
And that's what any receiver should say. But let's be honest. Like, that's a difficult catch to make, and he got open. He created separation. That's a throw that the quarterback needs to hit.
That's
an easy touchdown. Like, could Drummond have caught that ball? Theoretically, yes. But he shouldn't even been put in that situation. He did his job. The quarterback now needs to do his.
Yeah, and on top of like us just poking fun at Nate Sudfeld, like the protection wasn't great either. Like that offensive line, that second string offensive line wasn't the greatest, which kind of shows that offensive line depth is hard to come by in this league. Like, you might be able to fill in one piece, but when you have basically your entire starting offensive line out, like, yeah, there's problems that are going to arise with Nate Sudfeld back there. But regardless, my takeaway, and I'll get to it more later in the show because I don't want to give anything away yet, but Jack Campbell, man. Like, watching him in person.
The meat missile.
Dude. The heavyweights refer to Jack Campbell as the meat missile. Like, I see why. Like, that man, you saw him next to Malcolm Rodriguez. It was obvious. Much bigger, much stronger. Like, he's a specimen. I'll just say that. And on top of it, man, everywhere the ball was, Jack Campbell was.
Yeah.
Like he's flying around the field making tackles. He's the first one to get there. He's the one jumping on the pile. Like he gave 0 Fs, and I appreciate that about Jack Campbell, man. And now it's pretty clear why they took him. Another guy I want to bring up too. You have to bring up Brian Branch. Like I have to mention Brian Branch, dude. And the one thing, and this is something I wrote down when I was watching the game too. Brian Branch, him being a heat-seeking missile, like going and just taking guys out, translates around the field. Like I saw. Who was it? I think it was Iffy Melifonwu who made a tackle.
Smack dude out of bounds.
Yeah, that was like kind of similar to a Brian Branch thing, and I'm like, I've never seen that out of Iffy. Like the things that Brian Branch is doing, he's setting a tone in that secondary. Everybody else just kind of follows him. So those are the 2 early takeaways. I don't want to get into the breakdown stuff because I'll save that for when we talk about the rookies, but no doubt I had to bring up those guys.
Well, absolutely. And Jack Campbell and Brian Branch were obvious ones. Those were obvious standouts of the game. Along with, I would say, Jahmyr Gibbs as a rookie, he looked like he belonged. There was one rookie, though, that was drafted in the first 2 rounds that
let's hear it, Flannel. Say it.
You know, we're gonna wait till later because we're gonna do a full breakdown. But Lucas, you have some splaining to do. I will say, I get it. It's just preseason. We're not overreacting, but you probably would have wanted to see more.
Yep, you're right.
But
not a drop either. Dropped one.
Of course. But yeah, we're obviously gonna dig a little bit deeper into the rookies a little bit later because obviously my number 1 takeaways would have been Brian Branch and Jack Campbell, not the wide receivers. It was just one a little off the board. I would even say, what about the depth of the defensive line? That's another one that we're gonna get into in the next segment actually. But even a guy, and I know a lot of people have written him off, and I don't even know if he's gonna make the team. Even Benito Jones made a play, and he's a guy that we forget played 17 games last year, had a sack and a half, had 4 quarterback hits. I don't expect him to do a whole lot, but it was good to see the one sort of interior pressure sack of the whole game by the Lions came from Benito Jones. So 2 positions that some might find to be weaker, especially with the wide receivers, with Jamison Williams being out, and the defensive tackle, given the fact that they didn't draft Jalen Carter or Kalijah Kancey when they had the chance. Maybe those positions are going to be better and deeper than any of us think, which I kind of already suspected anyway.
And on top of that, too, like speaking of that defensive line depth, you already mentioned it, though, some of the pieces that were a part of that, John Kaminsky making plays, right. Levi Onwuzurike.
Right. Yeah.
Like Levi Onwuzurike, who again, Lucas, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, well, you know, it's one game, Levi Onwuzurike, but we kind of talked about it. This could be another piece to a defensive line that has a ton of depth. Yeah. And Levi Onwuzurike in his first game, I know it's preseason, but his first game after a year off, I liked what I saw out of Levi Onwuzurike. I'll say that.
I mean, I didn't even I'm not saying he didn't do anything, but it's not like he was out there
not
making
impressed.
a huge, I'm just yeah, he was nice. But to your point, like we just talked about, John Kaminsky, and there's going to be Isaiah Buggs,
yes.
Roderick Martin.
Benito Jones was out there. And don't worry, we'll get to the Okoro brothers later. Yeah. Those dudes were, we're going to have to talk more of those guys as the season comes. But Levi Onwuzurike, man, he was the second highest graded player according to PFF, and whatever you say. I know PFF, I don't use it to make my arguments, but I'll sprinkle it on top of my arguments. That's how I use PFF, all right? I'm not going to live by it, but he was the second highest graded player, at least defensively. So that was nice to see, but I think you nailed it with the defensive line depth. JB, what are some things you liked watching the game, the preseason game this Friday?
Well, I definitely like that Nate Sudfeld got removed from Ford Field during the second half because the first half was embarrassing, let's say the least. Adrian Martinez, I was a little... shocked by the guy a little bit just because he made that play. I forget, I think it was like the third quarter or whatever, where he just basically kind of rushed for that first down. You kind of let him off the chains a little bit and just let him be the person that he used to be back in college. So I was impressed by him. The drop from J-Mo from Nate Sudfeld, that sucked, but you did see the speed from J-Mo. The speed is still there, and he just needs Goff out there just so he can have that better connection. But overall, it's a win and a dub for the Lions in their first preseason game, which I wasn't expecting anything less, but man, sure he did impress me out there. But especially Chase Cota. I was not expecting that either.
Yeah. He was putting a Zen in after the game, too. I don't know if you guys saw it.
Was he
really?
Yeah,
he put in a Zen.
Then popped a Zen after the game?
Yeah, it's a celebratory Zen.
Oh,
what do you have? I think he had 4 catches for like 60 yards or something
like
that. Yeah,
he was the highest graded player on offense, according to PFF, which again, according to PFF, I'm not saying that means it's the end all be all, but Chase Cota, like a guy that no one expected to go out there and be the highest graded player, he did it. So And I love this Hoop Hearted CC85. Make it happen. Hey, I'm with you, Hoop Hearted. And get Chase Cota be the new folk hero, Sam Flannel, the Detroit Lions.
See, the thing about Chase Cota that actually works into my advantage as to liking him more is he's not like a little guy. He's a big body wide receiver, and he's got. I think he's more talented.
Big
than
body wide receiver.
He's tall.
But I don't know if I'd go around saying Chase Cota's a big body.
Okay,
wide
fine,
receiver.
but he's not Tom Kennedy, like 5 foot nothing and 90 pounds.
Yeah, he is 6'4". I mean, he's huge. I mean,
Come
he's a
on.
big.
6'4". I mean,
but I don't know. Like, I just don't think of Chase Cota. I think that dude's huge.
okay, fine. He's not huge, but he's 6'4".
Technically, he is huge. Like, if he's standing next to me, he's 6'4". So, like, I get what you're saying.
Did he
though.
look like a 6'4" wide receiver out there on the field?
I mean, next to Trey Quinn. Trey
Quinn's like 5 foot nothing. That's like Cole Beasley out there.
No, but I get what you're saying. And Broder, Chase Cota is a big body wide receiver. Hey, you got the Broder, stamp of approval.
He's like the tallest wide receiver on the team, right?
But nobody could have predicted
Probably.
Chase Cota was going to make some noise on Friday. I didn't at least predict it. So good for him on that. One more thing I want to mention too, at least some of my takeaways. And I want to bring this guy up one more time is John Kaminsky, because last year he was, at least the stud man for Aiden Hutchinson, and he did a lot of things. He at least didn't appear on the stat sheet, but he did a lot of things to set up other guys on this defensive line. And you kind of saw it similar on Friday. I mean, I get, again, it's not starters, but John Kaminsky, when he was out there, you saw his impact, and you also saw James Houston out there. And one thing I did take away, they're using James Houston on rundowns, like in preseason, getting him at least acclimated to being able to be a guy who can play multiple downs and not just a guy you throw in there on passing downs. And he did pretty well. I mean, he didn't do too bad against the run. So that's something I noticed the coaching staff is trying to work James Houston more in those type of sets. And again, if you want James Houston to be a complete defensive end, that's the road right there. And he looked pretty good on Friday.
Yeah,
so shout out to James Houston.
And that's the time to get the practice in the preseason, because as I've said before, I think James Houston is going to be a very, very good player, maybe even a great player, especially given where he was drafted, kind of like he was last year. But I want to see how he reacts to getting more snaps, to getting more run snaps, and see him become more of a complete defensive end, because we all know 8 sacks in 7 games is not sustainable. You have to be able to do more. I mean, if it was sustainable, we would be knitting his gold jacket right now.
Right.
And you mentioned John Kaminsky. I know we're going to talk about him a little bit more when we talk about the defensive line and the Okwara brothers. But John Kaminsky, you talk about the stuff that didn't show in the stat sheet last year, but he was still 3rd on the team in sacks with 4. And on games, it says that when you look at his stats, it says he played 14 games. But when you look at his game log, he put up stats in 12 of those games. In those 12 games last year, the Lions were 9-3, and their defense looked pretty damn good. So John Kaminsky, he was one of their unsung heroes last year, and maybe even this year he becomes a little bit more heralded. If he does what he did last year, that is one of the keys to unlocking a defense that could be approaching the top 10. One of the most underrated, valuable players in recent Lions memory. I mean, am I off base with that?
No, because especially what he does in the run game too, and not even just as far as getting tackles, but he's such a big body. And we forget he was doing this with a broken hand last year, finger. Like, he was doing this with a club. And I know you could be like, oh, but that's important when it comes to shedding blocks and just getting leverage with your hands. Like, that's important. So the fact that he was doing that, but we talk about Aiden Hutchinson in the run game. John Kaminsky kind of does everything that Aiden Hutchinson does on a way less level, but it's not like it's a diss to John Kaminsky. He's not athletic as Hutch is, obviously, but just what he brings to the field as far as being able to set an edge, check. Being able to rush the passer, check. Being able to disrupt the run game, check.
Yes.
That is John Kaminsky. So I'm very happy we got him from Atlanta. And I think he's just going to be one of those guys. I agree, Flannel, one of the most underrated players on this team right now.
Yeah, John Kaminsky does a lot of things at a good level, like solid. And that's the guy that, you can depend on. Now, for people that are saying, where's the Okwara brother love? Oh, the Okwara brothers.
A segment dedicated to it, baby.
Yeah, baby. We got a segment in about 2 minutes that we're going to get into about the Okwara brothers. And maybe we were a little off about this defensive line. Like, I know we talked about it earlier that it's the biggest question mark, but I'm telling you, Julian, one of the guys that I like on this team that I still think has potential, he showed a lot. Romeo Okwara. After that Achilles injury, showed something. I know, again, it's preseason. I know people are going to be like, you guys are overreacting. But this is the stuff you wanted to see, right? I mean, Julian Okwara could have easily walked out there and got 0 sacks. He had 3. So it's worth talking about. Hell yeah, you heard him. But before we get into that discussion, Sam Flannel, can you tell all about about our friends over at Planet Fitness?
Oh yes, put me on that defensive line at this point with all the gains that I'm getting at Planet Fitness, and you can get those gains too because Planet Fitness is home of the judgment-free zone where anyone, and we mean anyone, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. We are here to help you build a lasting, active lifestyle. At Planet Fitness, you will experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full body workout in just 30 minutes in the 30-minute circuit, and all memberships include fitness training. You get all of this for only $10 a month. Wow. Yes, we are still only $10 a month. Yes, only $10. And guess what? The high school summer pass is still going on. You've still got about half a month. You should still get into it. And your fitness is essential. And fitness is a key part of physical and mental wellness, which is why we have invited teens between the ages of 14 and 19 to work out for free all summer long with our high school summer pass program. And like I said, you've still got time if you want a couple weeks of extra gains. For more information or to join today, visit your local Planet Fitness or planetfitness.com. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. It's Planet Fitness. Show 'em. Fitness is essential.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today. The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
Your childhood may be over, but playtime is not. Outdoor Equipment Company is your source for outdoor power equipment sales, service, and parts, carrying top brands such as Bad Boy, LS Tractor, Stihl, and much more. Servicing the Great Lakes region with locations in Metro Detroit and Greater Lansing. For more information, visit us at OutdoorEquipCo.com. Outdoor Equipco, your power equipment playground. We're off and running. 30 minutes into the Morning Woodward Show. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Don't forget, hit the like button on the stream. We just hit over 100 likes on the streams. We appreciate you for that.
Shout out to the people.
Yeah, shout out to the people.
Early. We appreciate you guys,
We do.
man.
We do. And keep them coming. And don't forget, you can't watch us live. You can always re-listen on any podcast platform you listen to. Morning Woodward Show. You can catch us there. Leave a 5-star review for Sam and his wonderful flannels. Now, plenty more to get to. We're going to speak a little more about this defensive line, specifically Julian Okwara, Romeo Okwara, two guys, the brothers, who were making some plays on Friday. And again, at least from my perspective, Julian Okwara is a guy that I have always rooted for because you see the potential physically, like how fast he is, 6'5". You know, his ability to play outside linebacker, get after the passer, but also step back into coverage. Like there's a lot of things that Julian Okwara is great at, or I should say good at, right? There's maybe
that
things
he could be great at.
That he could, exactly.
His ceiling is high for everything.
Exactly. The ceiling would indicate, well, maybe he can be great at this, but he's always been just good. But what he's shown, and this is what you want to see, from your starters or guys that are going to play for you, is do they separate themselves in a preseason game against less competition? And I'll tell you one thing, Sam Flannel, it's confirmed. Julian Okwara did just that. 3 sacks against the second and third string guys.
Absolutely he did. And the thing about Julian Okwara, too, is we've had Matt Broder on the show, and he's one of the people that Matt Broder said was a little bit disappointing during camp, that might have, I would say, practiced his way off the 53-man roster. But when you get 3 sacks, I don't care if it's a preseason game. I don't care if it's against college offensive linemen. I don't care if he's going up against the William and Mary offensive line. Shout out Colby Sorsdahl. But still, it doesn't matter. 3 sacks in a game is nothing to sneeze at. And we've all talked about it. Romeo and Julian, the Okwara brothers. Julian was actually a much better prospect coming out of college than Romeo. Romeo was undrafted. Julian Okwara was a 3rd-round draft pick. The problem with Julian Okwara is that he can never stay healthy.
Right.
He's one of those guys that takes a step forward and he gets hurt. And it's no disrespect to him. That's just what the track record shows. I know in 2021 he had 5 sacks and I believe 13 games. Last year, he was one of those guys that took turns having a 2-sack game and then didn't do a whole lot else the rest of the year. But still, watching Julian Okwara have 3 sacks in a game, he reminded us all of that potential, of that explosion that we all see, of that size. Because when you look at him, he looks like Bill the D-end, basically. He's very, very pretty to look at in pads, and you look at the skill set, and you're just like, whoa. But he's never put it together. He's never been healthy enough to put it together. But what he did last game is to put everyone on notice that he might be a guy who contributes this season. We don't need him to be a 10-sack guy.
No.
We don't need him to have a season like his brother Romeo did in 2020 where he had 10 sacks. We just need him to get some pressure on the quarterback every once in a while and be a rotational piece on the edge and maybe stop the run every once in a while. But Romeo Okwara too. I'm not just gonna gloss by what he did. Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? In the opposing quarterback's backfield. That's where he was at. 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits, and last year we all know the story of Romeo Okwara. He tore his Achilles, and then there was a bit of a botched surgery, and then he had to go through it all over again. So last year he wasn't really ever himself. He missed most of the games. He played in a couple, and even he had a 2-sack game. Maybe this is the year where he is finally back to at least a facsimile of his old self, which he had a 10-sack season and a 7.5-sack season in the NFL with the Lions, and that is nothing to sneeze at. So I guess the point is if Romeo and Julian Okwara can both give you, in the case of Julian, maybe the best he's ever given, and in the case of Romeo, maybe an approximation of what he's given before. Imagine what they will do to this defensive line, given the fact that John Kaminsky also looked very impressive, given the fact that Levi Onwuzurike looked the most impressive he's ever looked, albeit in preseason, given the fact that even Benito Jones had a sack. This defensive line and this edge rushing group is a lot deeper than I think we all think, and if it comes together, that might be another one of the keys to unlocking a defense that is pretty damn good.
And Corey Berry, when you look at, he comments in here, when you look at all the DNs on this roster, it's hard to see a scenario where Julian makes this team, and that's why you needed a game like that out of Julian Okwara. Like, there's a lot of depth they have currently, and this is why Romeo, Julian, they played the entire second half. Like, typically, you don't really see that out of guys that have been in this league for quite some time, or at least Julian a couple years, but Romeo more so, a lot longer, a couple years longer. You don't see that. But the fact that they did play more than everybody else means they want a lengthy evaluation of these guys, and you got just that, right? Mm-hmm. 4 sacks combined between the two of them. And I'll read some of these comments, and I'll get to Lucas and JB on those two players. Let's say one funky Lions fan. One day people will realize we want everything based off a 3-4 under concept. And Broder said, I thought Romeo Okwara played a better overall game. Broder also said, you're right, Flannel. He totally proved me wrong. Hasn't looked great in practice, talking about Julian, but he played damn well, even in his reps where he didn't get sacks. I think that was well said there, too. MFN Jester, not expected, but man, Kaminsky is a stud. Corey Berry, Julian needed to stand out, but can he do it against starters? Well, he did it. He did it last year against Chicago, right? He had, I believe, a sack or 2 against Justin Fields. Looked good, but to your point, can he do it consistently? That's the biggest question. But Lucas, you were at the game Friday. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the Okwara brothers?
They showed out, man. But it's really, I think Romeo, he has after performing the way he does, just because what we've seen from him in the past, he has a much more safer spot at making this roster, because you got to think of, even on the offensive side of the ball, especially with the wide receiver situation, the tight end situation, there's going to have to be other cuts that are made. And if you're going to want to keep both the Okwara brothers, and you already know that Julian has a big injury history and we really haven't seen much, are you willing to take a risk on Julian Okwara rather than kind of shoring up that receiver room, keeping a Maurice Alexander around, keeping the depth on the offensive side of the ball, which you can argue for the first 6 weeks we might need more. But I think these guys are both tremendously talented. And I think I don't remember who commented, but to the 3-4 scheme, I think exactly that's what the Lions are trying to do. Especially that's why we see Charles Harris moving out to play Sam linebacker, and James Houston he's getting more developed in that run game. And I think that's exactly what they're trying to do. So if you do that, the Lions want to move towards a 3-4. I think you then keep Julian Okwara. But that just... It's hard to say because we haven't seen any consistency out of it, and we need more consistency out of the wide receiver room. So it's going to be tough. I think if he comes out and he plays another game similar, he locks up a spot. But I do think because he has had a slow camp as well,
right,
we're going to have to see it again. Romeo, on the other hand, I think he's good already.
Yeah, and to your point about Julian, the reason why I think he'd thrive in that concept is his ability to play like outside linebacker, drop into coverage a little bit. Like he could do a little bit of everything. Aiden kind of even showed that too last year.
Yeah.
The guy's 6'7", 250, he's dropping back into coverage. So, again, it was nice to see. But JB, Romeo Okwara, Julian Okwara, what'd you think of those two? And just maybe the depth of this defensive line, because they got a lot of talent there, young talent.
They're definitely young talent. I have to agree with Lucas as well, too, just because I think Romeo is a lock, and obviously Julian has had a lot of injury issues. If he can come back out in the next, couple preseason game and prove that, hey, he is a dominant force on defense, then yeah, I think a solid roster spot will be granted to him. But still, I think overall, I don't think they're willing to kind of separate the two. So I just feel like they're just going to be on this team regardless, even if that comes at the risk of losing one of these wide receiver depth that you have for your team. So it sucks, but it's also nice at the same time too, just because I feel like the Lions have a lot of faith in him still.
Spencer chiming in. He's my guy. He says, bottom line, starting spot goes to the guy who can't stop a running quarterback. That was our biggest weakness last year. And I remember we were watching the game on Friday, and again, guys, just to clarify, this is not the end-all be-all, but we were watching the game and we're like, uh-oh, we still can't stop any mobile quarterbacks. But that's, and not, a lot of the league struggles with that as well, but contain. Or you assume when you get your starters in there, though, that won't be as much of an issue. But he's right. If you could stop mobile quarterbacks, sign me up. Because the first couple weeks, you got guys that can scramble. That's just how it is.
Well, and maybe the most mobile quarterback of all is in our division in Justin Fields. And if you can take away the run with him, he still hasn't proven in the NFL that he can be an effective passer from the pocket consistently. So,
right.
but if he can get outside and break contain and run all over you, he's certainly proven capable of that. So the Lions definitely need to make sure that that's tightened up a little bit as opposed to last year. Go ahead, Lucas.
I was just going to say it's another great reason why to have CJ GJ, because you can have him in the box and lay quarterback spy, or you can even with Jack Campbell's athleticism, that's another great underrated pickup that we can use him for. The fact that he can cover the field like that, you can now use Jack Campbell to spy on Justin Fields. So the Lions, the speed, they have the required speed as far as playing against the mobile quarterbacks. It's just now, can those players have the game slowed down so they don't get embarrassed by the Patrick Mahomes and the Justin Fields and etc., the Lamar Jacksons that we're going to have to play. But we have the personnel to stop those guys.
And did you see, real quick, just a little side topic, the whoever the meteorologist was on Fox 2, that was tough. And I know we were at the game. We didn't know what was happening. JB, you were watching the broadcast?
So I was at home watching the broadcast, and can I tell you just right now, I was so irritated by this woman. I don't know who she is, but all I need is a quick 5 to 10 minute alert that's saying, hey, there's going to be rain, there's going to be a tornado, watch out, get to shelter. She stayed on for a good 30 to 40 minutes just ruining the second half of the game, and I am so irritated, man, because it was picture in picture, but yet you still heard her sound. So it was like, this is just annoying.
And that's like the predicament that Fox is in too, is like they have to they have to show and at least broadcast the tornado warning. Like they have no choice, they have to. But then there's also the part where they're like, the fans are like, I don't give a damn. Like I drove home in that, so like no one gave a damn. Everyone drove home from the game in that weather. But I wouldn't blame her, but it's unfortunate that she was the person that everybody has to blame because she was on TV while all these Lions fans are watching pissed off.
Yeah, no, fortunately for me, I was actually out with my sister, and we were at a bar, and I was watching it, but there was no sound. But it was still just one of those things where it's like, why is this meteorologist on here for so long? And then, of course, I saw all the replays and like the highlights, and I'm just like, man, that would be pretty damn annoying. And JB, I can understand in real time, you were probably just wanting to enjoy the game, kick back, see how the second and third teamers were doing, but she was just like yap.
Yep. About the same thing over and over again. It's like, we get it. Get to safety. I got it. Turn back to the game.
You even had Ryan Ermanni tweeting out like, I'm hopping off Twitter. Like he rage quit Twitter too, and I love Ryan, but he was out of there.
Ryan Ermanni was like, he was great. He seemed probably more irritated by this than just about anybody.
I
Like,
know. Yeah, and then
what the?
I'm sorry. You know when you like hit your arm on like I was turning. You know when you smack your elbow on that point in the
funny
chair where
bone.
it makes your arm just go numb? Oh my
Okay,
god.
Lucas
Sorry,
is out.
that
He's
hurt.
day to day with a funny bone injury. We'll go to break. When we get back, we'll get into more preseason talk again. We'll get into the rookies now. I want to spend more time on Brian Branch, Jack Campbell, Broderick Martin was out there, so on and so forth. Sam Laporta we'll talk about as well. But before we do that, JB, can you tell everybody about our friends over at Randy Wise?
Oh, I got you. Because how would you like to see famous athletes like Jim Harbaugh, Darren McCarty, Braylon Edwards play golf with average Joes? Well, thanks to Randy Wise Automotive and Woodward Sports, you will be able to do just that. It's the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour. Make the wise choice and pay attention to Woodward Sports for more information soon.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Don't forget, hit that like button. We're almost at 150. We appreciate every single one of you for choosing us this morning. It really does not go unappreciated. We thank you for that. Joining us on this Monday morning, plenty of lines to get to. We're going to spend a little bit of time right now talking about the rookies, the young players, because that's really why we invest so much into these preseason games. I mean, I remember, only a couple of years ago, Sam Flannel, about not even a couple, over basically a decade ago, when the Lions went undefeated in the preseason but didn't win a game. So these things happen, right? I can't live and die by the preseason, but at the same time, it's good to evaluate players, and you got to see some of the rookies, the young players. Give me some guys that stood out to you and why.
All right, so there's a couple obviously that stood out in the positive direction, and on the prep it said like give your grades, and I gave a couple of grades. Jack Campbell, I would honestly give an A+. And I know like giving out an A+ in preseason, what does that even mean? But there were times out there where he looked like the best player on the whole damn field. He was all over the field. He was a heat-seeking missile. He was good in coverage. He was good against the run. Everywhere the ball was, there was Jack Campbell, and it showed out in the PFF grade where he was the highest rated PFF player on the entire damn Lions, and he certainly looked like it. He looks like a guy that's going to be linebacker 1, maybe even on week 1, which, because he is the most talented player on the team, and a talented linebacker on the team, and I do believe he is pro ready. Obviously, another one, Brian Branch. He is my guy. I X'd this now. I know it's not Twitter anymore, or posted this, but I was like, multiple Pro Bowls and all pros are in his future. And I know we're not supposed to speak a lot about preseason, but you know what preseason is good for, especially in my case, and I am just as guilty of it as anybody, especially right now. Good old-fashioned confirmation bias. When he made that like big hit in the backfield, I'll just say this: I had a little trouble standing up at that point because I was as bricked up as possible.
Cole Beasley too. It wasn't just some like bum.
Right.
Like it was Cole Beasley. Like I mean, Cole Beasley's now you could probably consider a bum, but it's not like it was just some rookie that had no place where they were at in the field. No, like Cole Beasley, it's a solid dude that has a good awareness of what's going on around him. He still got popped.
Yep, Cole Beasley, one of the most solid slot receivers probably the past 10 years. And one of the ways he did that is his awareness. And you know what? Brian Branch popped him. He made a couple of other plays. In coverage, I looked at the numbers afterwards. He allowed 2 receptions on 2 targets for 5 yards. That's all well and good. But I will say this, Lucas, and here's where I have to get your response to this.
I'm ready for it.
You know what grade I wrote down for Sam Laporta?
Probably like a D.
D.
Yep,
Absolutely. You even knew, because 1 target, 1 drop, 0 catches. That's not good enough. And I'm not saying I'm not saying that his career is over and that he should be looking in his rear view for James Mitchell, who had 3 catches for 52 yards. But
oh my God!
Hey, but you know what, Lucas? I'm sure you're gonna say that game right there is indisputable video evidence that Sam Laporta is a Hall of Famer, right, Lucas?
Nope. Sam dropped the ball literally for me
right.
on that one. But the thing is, I'm not worried about Sam Laporta, okay? Because it was his first target ever. I saw rookies all around the league. Jackson Smith-Njigba dropped one. You can go all around the league. There's guys that were dropping balls, okay? Quarterbacks, their first games ever, rookie quarterbacks. Every one of them threw an interception besides Bryce Young. So I'm not worried about it. It was it wasn't like a difficult pass, but he's running across or he had to go to his feet. I'm not worried about it because at the end of the day, Sam Laporta is full of talent. It's just a matter of time. And when he does, everything I still said about Sam Laporta still stands, in my opinion. I'm not backing down.
No.
Sam Laporta, gold jacket season, it's happening. He's going to get around 600-700 yards this year. But I'm not worried about Sam Laporta after just one drop.
You're in too deep at this point.
Yeah, I'm committed.
Yeah.
I'm committed.
But if anything, that drop, you'd hope that, he bounces back from it even more now.
Learns from it. He's a smart guy.
Yeah, you got to face some adversity, and I think he'll bounce back. But you're right. I mean, he didn't do much, Sam Laporta. But again, it is what it is. I think for him, we kind of know, and he's been showing out in training camp to where it's like, okay, once regular season comes around, I think Sam Laporta, he'll be all right. Just shake the nerves off. You're in your first NFL action. Give him a little bit of time. But regardless, defensive players, to your point, they showed up. Brian Branch, that guy to me, he's a dog. He's a dog. And same with Jack Campbell. Like, those two guys are starting. Like they have to play at some point. Now, Brian Branch with that secondary, who knows how you can get him in. Maybe he's in the slot at times. He's playing corner, whatever he is. They got to play both those guys at some point. Jack Campbell is probably the most physically gifted linebacker on top of what he already knows up there. I mean, the guy's flying around. He's a missile. So for Jack and Brian Branch, easily, at least to me, because I'm not going to overanalyze this, I'm going to give him an A because it's like they check the box for me. Like, I don't need to see an interception, 3 tackles for losses, and a sack from Jack Campbell. I know he is as advertised. He's not a reach. I know that was the big conversation. This guy's a reach. No, he was the only linebacker actually worth the first-round pick. And you took him at 18, and it showed on Friday why that dude is going to make an impact for a long time. So I like Jack. I like Brian Branch. Those are 2 solid ones. But, yeah, Sam Laporta didn't play well, but I expect him throughout preseason to start showing more.
Especially with how they've been using him in camp, with the volume that he's getting in the first team drills. I mean, we went the one day and it was literally Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta. That's not going to change after one play. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. And again, it's hard for all these receivers because we're going to get into Jameson Williams in about 9 minutes, and we'll get into that discussion. But it's hard to really evaluate this wide receiver core when the quarterback play is just awful. Like, that's the problem. And the offensive line is just awful. Like, they were bad in pass protection. They weren't great in the run game. And then you have Nate Sudfeld, who is struggling, which, his offensive line isn't helping him, but he's not playing well. And Adrian Martinez is running for his life out there. Like, you can't really... The only evaluation you had is a small sample size.
Sure.
So for guys like a Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams, these guys... It's hard. I mean, when you get Teddy in there, maybe it'll be a little easier to evaluate him, but right now it is kind of tough. Yeah, it is.
And Jeff, I actually want to give you the first crack at it. What did you think of Jahmyr Gibbs, somebody that didn't play a whole lot, but he got a little bit of run? What were your impressions?
I liked it. I mean, again, for a guy who, as explosive as he was in college, I know people would see the 6 carries for 19 yards and be like, meh. But there's more to that. Number one, he's going to be playing behind a much, much better offensive line come the regular season. They'll be putting more respect on who's behind center. Like, they see Nate Sudfeld struggling, and they're like, all right, this offensive line sucks. We're going to just commit against the run. But once you have Amon-Ra, you have Jared, you got weapons, teams are going to have to respect that. And I think Jahmyr will be better. But he also caught that pass. He had a play in the passing game. We ran for 18 yards. Like, I got what I needed out of Jahmyr. I'm not going to overreact. It was nice just to get him out there and take some hits, kind of get his body groomed up for the regular season. So, I mean, what would I give him as a grade? Probably like a C. I mean, he is what I expected. He's fine. He didn't make any explosive plays, but I'm not going to sit here and say he's a bust. He was all right.
No, I mean, and C, I think that's actually a little harsh. I actually would have given. I mean, I gave him on my list a B+. I mean, he had that one run between the tackles. It was about 6 or 7 yards where he looked
and he was physical, but not to cut you off,
No,
but he was a physical runner when he got the reps in there. Like, every time he got the ball in his hands, he was fighting for extra yards, unlike somebody we know that just got traded to Philadelphia. Philadelphia, who actually looked pretty good this weekend, but I'm not going to judge.
Actually, to speak on that point, I'm glad you brought up DeAndre Swift because the things you saw to Jameer, you're like, okay, this is why it's different. Like, this dude in between tackles, he's much more decisive. Now, again, with a bad offensive line and not a ton of help, like, it's hard to evaluate the way, but yeah, I'm cool with now, is C harsh? Okay, give him a B. But my point is, I wasn't unimpressed with Jameer, but I wasn't super blown away.
Sure.
Yeah.
It was just like, yeah, he'll be fine. Like, I know what Jameer is. I watched him in college. Like, I expect that come the regular season. But his first preseason game behind this whack offensive line that is struggling in pass pro and terrible in the run game, I'm not going to overreact there. So it is what it is.
I mean, can we all agree, though, that the most impressive thing he did was that 18-yard catch and run? Because if he does that, if he has at least one 18-yard reception maybe every game or almost every game, then that's a win. Then he's everything that you asked for as a receiving running back. So to me, getting to see him catch a pass was very, very impressive. That's one of the reasons I would give him a B plus instead of a C. I mean, running behind the backup offensive lineman, I thought he looked okay. I mean, eventually you're going to want to get more than 6 carries for 19 yards in a game, but that's why this is preseason. He only played a limited amount of snaps. I think he will be just fine, and he was also able to show off the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield and get some yards after catch, which is ultimately the reason why he was drafted in the first place.
And in this poll, who impressed you the most? Over 250 votes. It's in the chat. You can check that out at woodwardsports.com or on our YouTube channel at Woodward Sports. Who impressed you the most? Jack Campbell, leading all voters, 46%. Brian Branch, 44%. Sam Laporta, a giant 2%. Shout out to Sam Laporta.
The loyal ones out there.
8%.
Those are my people.
Yeah, hey, the Sam Laporta army. And then 9% Jahmyr Gibbs. I think that's about where I agree. I think Jack Campbell was probably the most impressive. But regardless, it's the first preseason game. I got what I needed to see out of most of the guys. Now, Sam Laporta, maybe you're looking for a bounce-back game, but I'm good. Like, let's just get to the regular season at this point. Maybe you're just evaluating guys that can make the team. The rookies, it is what it is.
Sure.
But you know what is more of an interesting story, which we're going to get to in about 5 minutes, is Jameson Williams, who also played, through 3 quarters, essentially. Played a majority of the game.
10 targets.
10 targets.
Not all of them on point, but some of them
Not
were.
all of them on point. And that's one of them was, and he didn't catch it. But regardless, it was good coverage by Deonte Banks, which, by the way, he's going to be a great corner. Like, if you watched him, I'm telling you, he's good, man.
But I agree with you.
But I know it's off one preseason, but he was going stride for stride with J-Mo. Like, that's impressive. So shout out to Deonte. But we're going to get into Jameson Williams in a short period of time. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at SMA, the sports marketing agency. Help spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. The new podcast, this is the S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com for more information.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1, what's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2, join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3, bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB and Lucas Klotz, Gabrielle D. Phillips out at Allen Park. She'll be down there for the practice. I think it's at 12:30 if I'm not mistaken. So she's out today. But we got most of the show here to break down the preseason action over the weekend, the Lions, the rookies. We're going to get into Jameson Williams because shows are going to talk about it. And I didn't want to spend a bunch of time on J-Mo because there's a lot more to cover than just Jameson Williams. But he is the biggest storyline, at least in that game. Former first-round pick, a guy who was one of the most electric players I've ever seen in college football. Missed his first season, majority. Now he comes back, he's suspended. But these preseason games, Sam Flannel, are important to him. He's going to have to get reps. And you would have liked to see Jared Goff for him to kind of build rapport in a game setting. But it was Nate Sudfeld, a guy who he's been with in practice, he's worked with in practice, and we know Jameson has shown things in practice.
Sure.
Like we saw the reports. He's also had some bad days, but on top of that, man, he's been the first one into practice for the majority of the time, and he's executed. And he's burnt guys like Cam Sutton in practice. But now we get to the preseason action, Deontay Banks, rookie corner, is matched up with them. And do you have the play of J-Mo?
We'll pull her up.
All right, so here's
this is
the
Iafrate film too, if I'm not mistaken.
This is per a source. Jeff Iafrate caught this on camera here, and this is something I recorded. But he had about a step on him, and that should have been hauled in 100%. Like that was a catchable ball in the NFL. That's open. Like with the windows you see in the league now, like that's open. Nate Sudfeld dropped it in a bucket. Yes. So he should have hauled that one in for a catch. But again, this is the point of preseason, and Dan kind of talked about it. Dan, he understands this is his first training camp. At the same time, people forget that because last year he was just kind of observing. So for him to be back, his first preseason game, Sam Flannel. What are your takeaways of Jameson Williams so far?
I thought his performance on Friday was, in a word, underwhelming. I will just say that. And I think we can all agree to some point that it was, because with the usage he got, which was probably the most usage he's ever gotten in an actual NFL game, albeit in preseason, he didn't really perform to the level that I expected him to. And I get it. If he hauls in that catch and maybe even scores a touchdown, he probably would have been taken down at the 2 or the 1. Then you'd look back at this and say, man, he played a really, really good game. He made that play that he was like basically drafted to make, but he didn't. Obviously, he burnt Deontay Banks. I don't know about burnt, but got open against him. And Nate Sudfeld threw probably the best pass he's ever thrown in his life, right in the bucket, and Jameson Williams just didn't hang on to it. And that's why we have to look at each play by play, because a lot of people are going to be like, what would you expect Jameson Williams to do? Nate Sudfeld was throwing him the ball. But Nate Sudfeld actually threw as perfect of a pass that any quarterback could make, and Jared Goff just dropped it. That's my thing. Jameson Williams was not good enough in this game. I'm not saying he's a bust. I'm not saying get him out of town. I'm not saying that it's going to ruin his trajectory with the team. I'm just saying, is it fair, guys, and I'm genuinely asking, to say that it was underwhelming without overreacting too much? Is that fair?
Yeah, no, and that's fair. I don't think we should come on the show and be like, listen, J-Mo was excellent. There's definitely room for growth for J-Mo, but there certainly are positives. And I think Joey 2 times, shout out to him, by the way, he dropping facts as usual. He says, I like that J-Mo is a willing and capable blocker, though it seemed like he enjoys pushing around DBs. And that's the stuff you look for, at least with guys like Amon-Ra. He sets the tone. Right, he's dependable in the passing game, but he's deadly in the block in run blocking. I mean, he makes guys pay. And J-Mo showed that last year, even when he didn't produce as much as you'd hope for late in the season. Although he was playing limited snaps, he was out there getting his nose dirty. He was throwing blocks in the run game.
Crucial one against Minnesota to break Justin Jackson open.
Yes, he did. Correct. So again, that's one thing you take away. J-Mo did a lot of the little things correctly, but still, that ball you got to come down with. And that kind of goes back to what Dan said about his hands. He may never have elite hands, but he doesn't have to, right? He's a guy that is dynamic, has dynamic speed, and if he just has decent hands, he's going to make big plays for the Detroit Lions. He showed that last year at a small sample size. But to your point, Sam Flannel, was it underwhelming to say the least? Would you expect a guy like a Jameson Williams, although he doesn't have as many reps as a Julian, but Julian Okwara showed he separated himself from everybody else. He showed he's much better. Jameson didn't really show that too much, that he's much better. But again, one preseason game isn't enough sample size for me to say that definitively. I need to see him in more action. But that first game, you're hoping as the preseason goes on, he'll produce more, because Jameson, we know, is much more talented than anybody else on that field. He's going to have to show it. And I know the quarterback play was terrible and the offensive line was terrible. But again, Chase Cota went for 4 for 60. So I'm just saying.
Loving that point.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
I'm just saying, for J-Mo, there definitely is room for improvement, but I'm not going to overreact and say he's going to suck. I won't say that.
No, he's not going to suck, but at some point, I don't want to hear anything more about his blocking, because obviously you have to block on the outside in order to be a complete wide receiver, but you have to make plays. You have to catch the football. You have to score touchdowns. You have to get first downs. It's not just about blocking. If we're going to keep complimenting his blocking when he doesn't produce on the outside, line him up next to Frank Ragnow then.
Well,
come on.
Well, Sam, to your point, we're not paying him to block. You're paying him to catch the football and make plays and be dynamic. That's why you drafted him. But I guess at this point, with only one training camp, you're kind of just looking for some small takeaways here, because to your point, if you get 7 targets, you got to come down with more of them, especially that ball. Like, that ball was one of the few well-thrown balls by Nate Sudfeld, and he had a somewhat clean pocket. And again, he just didn't come down with it. So it is what it is. Joe says, Jeff, no Pascal love. Your thoughts? Pascal, I mean, he's solid, but, it's not a guy that, there's many other people to talk about. I think Pascal will be fine. He's going to be a guy we evaluate come the regular season. I'm excited for Pascal, no doubt about it, Joe. And Bart from Sterling Heights comments, that was J-Mo's first full game. We got another comment, too. Dude caught the 2-point conversion. He did. God. One-handed catch there.
Well, here's the thing, Sam. Yeah. And to the point, he just dropped a wide-open pass. He was kind of, not throwing a fit, but you could tell he was upset after that. And he was demanding the ball. They threw it back to him. He had that. And then it was 1st and 15, a 7-8 yard catch. Now, the thing that I didn't like about it is he pointed like he got a first down after that, which I was like, J-Mo, 2nd and 8 right now. What are we doing? But he did bounce back and get the 2-point conversion. So hopefully that drop was kind of like the Sam Laporta thing where it's like, all right, nerves are out. He was like, oh, this is touchdown. That ball, when you're a receiver and you see a ball like that, that thing sits in the air forever. It doesn't, but when you're running those routes, it's like, all the lights come on, and now you got to start thinking, and that's just where you got to shake those nerves off. And I think once he got it out of his system, I think he'll bounce back next week, or I should say, hopefully he will. And once he does, I think we can all see this kind of de-escalate. Now, people are obviously still going to hate. If J-Mo would have caught that ball, people would still be hating on J-Mo, but I think we just need to give him more time. It's the first game of preseason.
And Sam, you kind of scoffed a little bit when I said the 2-point conversion, yes. But you can't crap on a man for dropping a ball, but then he makes a one-handed catch in the end zone, although it was a 2-point, and to be like, ugh, it is what it is. No, that matters. If the drop matters, then that matters.
Okay, but I would say that catching that pass, that 40-plus yard pass from Nate Sudfeld that he could have maybe got for a touchdown is a little bit more important than a 2-point conversion. That's all I'm saying. I hear people almost use that 2-point conversion catch as an excuse to be like, you see, he's that's. But
some
not
people.
You. I'm not saying you, Lucas. I'm just saying that. And this is what has always been my issue with Jamison Williams. And not Jamison Williams himself, but with his stupor fans at this point. Because there are a lot of people who maybe, I would say, throw some unnecessary jabs at Jamison Williams for stuff that he's done off the field. A lot of that stuff I don't give a damn about. But because of that, there have been people who I think defend him for everything, no matter what. And that's kind of what gets on my nerves. It's okay to say that he had an underwhelming preseason game. I think if you say he had a good preseason game, then you don't expect him to be great. That's what I'm saying.
No, we expect him to be great, but my point is, you look at the drop he had against Deonte Banks, which I caught on video. Yeah, he has to come down with that. But then you can also say, both things can be true. The catch he made, the one-hander for the 2-point conversion, yeah, that was impressive. He made it with one hand for a guy that had his hands questioned. That you take away. I don't think it's, the most important play, he messed up, so everything else just kind of gets disregarded. No, that play matters too. They needed that play to get the 2-point conversion, and it ended up mattering in the end. So that's my thoughts. Sure. I think if you're good, you got to be consistent. If you're gonna critique him for missing that throw that Nate Sudfeld threw to him, that he dropped, you got to give credit for him making the 2-point conversion. I think both those things have to be aligned.
And I'm not talking about you guys when I talk about the Jamison Williams fanboys that get on my nerves. You guys have been a little bit more fair about it than some. And yes, that catch for a 2-point conversion was impressive. My point is that if he does make that catch from Nate Sudfeld where he beat Deonte Banks, might have scored a touchdown, then we're looking at this game completely different, and that's fair. If you have an opportunity to make explosive plays and you don't make it, especially when the throw was perfect, you're going to get criticized. It's just fair. If he gets that drop out of his system and doesn't do that during the regular season, then I will be like, that was all nothing. But I would really like to see what he does on the road at Arrowhead in week 1. Oops.
Oh my! Flannel.
Oops.
Well,
he just had to say it. He just had to say it.
Hold on. Well, to be fair,
I forgot.
Hold on. To be fair, we did see him coming off an injury. We saw him what he did at Green Bay. He had a touchdown catch in primetime football for the Lions to have a winning record, and it got called back. So it's not like we've never seen J-Mo make plays in an actual game. He's done that. Now, would you like him to be more involved and get the football to him more often? Yes, but it didn't happen that way last year. He didn't have the chemistry with Goff. He was playing limited snaps. But we do know, Green Bay, he caught that touchdown that was called back. He came down with that, but who was throwing it? Jared Goff. Not Nate Sudfeld, Jared Goff. You go back to Minnesota, wide open, 40-yard catch. That's a touchdown catch by Jared Goff. Like, it's not like you can't overanalyze it like J-Mo's never played in a regular season game. Like, he's made plays. I know you have big expectations, but he'll be fine. I'm not too worried. Does he have to produce when he comes back? Yes, but he's shown flashes already. It's not like J-Mo's done nothing, and now we're taking a preseason game as the end-all, be-all. Like, you got a little more of a sample size.
I'm just saying, though, that I would say that his NFL career has been closer to doing nothing than not doing nothing. I will just say that. And you know what? I really didn't want this to be a Jameson Williams slander fest, but I don't think this is slander.
You're the one who said it.
When Jeff said Jameson Williams, it's not like he's done nothing. Flannel perked up so fast. Pause.
Yeah, I know, because it's funny how Chase Cota, James Mitchell, and Antoine Green all produce better than Jameson Williams.
But has Chase Cota done what Jameson's done last year?
Jameson Williams didn't do hardly anything last year. Come on.
Sam, 3 times the football touched his hands, he made plays. Chase Cota cannot say that, nor can anybody else. And the plays he made, nobody has made, besides Amon-Ra.
And you know what? I'm obviously not an idiot. I'm not saying that Chase Cota's better. I'm just giving it context. I'm not saying that Antoine Green is better. I'm not saying that James Mitchell is better. My point is that when Jameson Williams made that touchdown catch against Minnesota, we were all on cloud 9, myself included. If you would have told me, or any of you, and don't lie, I know you guys are about to lie to me, your noses are going to be like Pinocchio's. If you would have been told that he did not catch a single pass the rest of that game, you would have been like, oh, absolutely. I mean, you would have thought he would. If I told you he wouldn't have caught a pass the rest of the season, but played in basically every game, you guys would have said that was a disappointment. Don't lie. That's all I'm saying.
We're talking about last year?
Yes, we're talking about last year.
I don't know about that, because I didn't even expect him to play for real last year,
most people did not.
The fact that we saw him, I was like, sweet, but I'm not like, I wasn't having serious expectations, because a lot of times he was out there too as they were running like the I. They'd have Kabinda and Jamal Williams out there, and it was an obvious running situation. They kind of had J-Mo just split out as a single receiver. So it's not like he's going to be much of a receiving threat at that point either. So it's not like they were just trying to get him in the game and acclimated. So I get what you're saying, Flannel. I just don't agree with it. That's all.
It's just different viewpoints. And I get maybe Sam expected him to be Randy Moss when he returned off the ACL injury. I did not.
No, I didn't.
And that's the part of it I think is miscommunicated. For me, I wanted J-Mo to show things, right? Showed some flashes last year. I didn't think that last year I wanted him to win 8 games. Maybe J-Mo gets back, show some things. I think he did. Now, were you expecting more production? Maybe, but check the number of snaps he played in each of those games. He didn't play a ton. And the targets, I mean, I don't blame the Lions for not throwing it to J-Mo, because, again, you had connection all season with other receivers. So that whole thing is misconstrued. Jameson Williams, at least to me, he made 3 huge plays, pretty impactful plays. Now, one of them was called back. But regardless, I'm excited for J-Mo. I think this preseason game, you can go watch it and be disappointed, whatever it is, but he's still going to play a lot more in the preseason. So we shall see.
And I can promise every single one of you, even though you guys don't believe me because I'm not a hater, if Jameson Williams makes that catch where he beat Deonte Banks, I'm not saying any of this.
One catch.
It was a huge play in the game. That's what you're paid to do. If he does good, I cheer. If he does bad, I boo. Is that correct? I mean, oh my God, I just have to crown him on day 1, don't I?
No.
I have to crown him on day 1 or else I'm a hater. You know what? Actually, I met last night with my group of people who are we're all scheming to get Jameson Williams out of town. We actually put a curse on his hand so that he wouldn't catch that ball. Come on, guys. You hear how ridiculous I sound?
No one's saying you have to crown the man, but this is what I love about Sam. He'll say, like, I'm not even trying to make it personal with Jameson Williams, but then he'll say, like, oh, can't wait to see him week 1 at Arrowhead.
What will he be doing week 1 at Arrowhead? Oh, that's right. Nothing.
But that's true. What if it hurts the team?
But we already know this.
We know this. But then when I bring up the one-handed 2-point conversion, he's like, oh.
It was a 2-point conversion. It was a 2-point conversion for, like, however long the 2-point conversion is, like 2 yards.
Sam, if he dropped that, you would have had a problem with it.
I would have had a problem with it because you got to catch that. You got to catch everything. If you get your hands on it, you got to catch it.
He made the catch, and you're like, oh.
Congratulations. It was a couple of yards. Catch the one for over 40 when you're open. And maybe he should try catching with one hand every single time, or else he wouldn't just be like, oops. Whoops, it's right in my hand.
No.
Come on.
Sam. You understand what I'm saying, though? He made the 2-point conversion catch, and you're like, but if he missed it, you would have tore him up today about it.
You got to make that play, though.
So it doesn't matter since he made the catch, but if he didn't, it's a huge problem.
You sound like me with C.J. Stroud right now.
But hey,
Come on! Am I crazy here? Like, JB, voice of reason.
No, we need the voice of reason. Yeah,
Voice of reason.
Flannel, Jeff, Lucas, we're all going to shut up. Voice of reason's not talking.
All right. So look, Sam, I'm not gonna burn your take here. I will give you a little bit of credit just because, yes, I think J-Mo's performance in the preseason game was a little underwhelming because I feel like everyone here and everyone around the nation did have a little bit of an expectation for him. But I'm not gonna let that poo-poo on the player that J-Mo is and can be with the proper quarterback and the right quarterback in place, which I think that will happen once Teddy Bridgewater gets acclimated a little bit more with the team and you see him out there with Teddy and once he's back with Goff. So I can't just completely poo-poo on J-Mo because he does have skills and he is a very good player. It's just he's just shaking off the dust from an off season, especially with the quarterback that he had out there as well too. So I still believe in J-Mo.
No, and that's fair, JB, and that's why I like you, because you are the voice of reason. But can we please stop talking about how it was Nate Sudfeld in that one play? He made the best throw he's probably made in his life, right? Nate says, "Oh, wait a minute, were the laces out or something like that?" I thought that only applied to kicks, but I guess when it's Jamison Williams, it's another reason to make excuses. Stop it.
Now, for J-Mo, there is no question. I will not argue this. He has to produce when he comes back.
Sure.
There are big expectations for him. He has to produce. I agree there. But like the nitpicking, and I get, like, again, he has to make that play. Nate Sudfeld threw one of his only good balls he threw all game to J-Mo. He has to come down with that. But again, if you're going to overreact about that, we got to keep that same energy about the 2-point conversion. That's my point.
So are you saying that
like he converted the 2-point play, he caught it with one hand, impressive.
So and now you're going to get the people who are like, that 2-point conversion catch to give you 2 points, what a 2.5-yard play, is indisputable video evidence that he's already a superstar.
No, I'm not going to go that far.
Okay, I'm just saying
I just want you to be consistent here.
But that 40+ yard catch that would have put them in the red zone at the very least would have been more impactful than a 2-point conversion. Is that also fair?
That's fair.
Okay,
that's fair. All I'm saying is you can't have it both ways, right? You got to be able to give credit and also critique. I like that he caught the 2-point with one hand, but he also has to come down with that throw by Nate Sudfeld.
And Sam, to be optimistic about this, I don't think any time we expected J-Mo to get a goal line fade route. I think we can all agree with that. That's not in his game. So he showed us something in his game and he disappointed us. But then he showed us something that we didn't really expect. So I understand you're upset about it, but there can be some optimism because at the same time, he is going to be scoring touchdowns for the Detroit Lions this season.
Okay,
and it is going to work out. It is going to work out.
You know what, Lucas? And you know what? Why, like, I am who I am, because I can acknowledge that maybe that play, that 2-point conversion, is proof that he can be more of a red zone threat in terms of getting fades and everything. That's fair.
Hey,
you know what? That's fair because
came out on a positive side here.
All right, but you know what? Show it in the regular season. Show it in week 1
true.
at Kansas City. Show it in week 2 at home to Seattle.
Okay,
Oops.
he has to do that.
See, that's finish it on that.
But then he'll say, "Well, it's not personal. I don't want to make this personal," and then he'll throw a shot at the same time. Listen, Jamison, please don't leave. We love you. We can't wait to see you. Hopefully, you actually do show out in the regular season. That's what we all expect. That's what J-Mo has to do. I don't want to be one of those guys that defend J-Mo blindly, even if he struggles. But at the same time, like, there is a ton of talent there. And I'm not going to sit here and not give him any credit for a one-handed catch in the red zone for a 2-point conversion, but then crap on the man for dropping a 40-yard play. It is what it is. We shall see more of him, though, as the preseason goes on. But before we go to break, though, can I hear about our friends from Lady J and Sam Flannel?
Absolutely, and what a coincidence. Over the weekend, actually, I was out in the area, and I got my hair cut by the wonderful April. You guys should go see her sometime. Got me looking this fresh for this show while I take my slings and arrows from the chats. And you can walk into any Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically enter for your chance to win not 1, but 2 vehicles of your choice, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. That's right, 2 cars, 1 for you and 1 for your wife, girlfriend, or best bud. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Your home is your most important asset. Flexibility in the sales process is key. When you work with Mark White & Associates, you can cancel at any time, for any reason, without penalty. Speaking of flexibility, check this out. Who you work with matters. Hire the best broker in the game.
The sports marketing agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zuniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
Brand new state-of-the-art sports dome field house that has a regulation basketball court, volleyball court, and soccer field. Also can be used for 7-on-7 football. Again, Academy of Warren, K through 8. It features small classroom sizes, futuristic media center, free breakfast and lunch, academic games, and K through 8 athletics. Ermanni Networks will be broadcasting live from their carnival on August 24th. Come meet the staff and explore your child's new school. Now accepting new enrollment. Go to theacademyofwarren.net. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Don't forget, hit the like button on this video. We'll try to get to 225. 225, that's the number by the end of this segment.
Shout out to the people showing out today. Appreciate you guys.
The people are showing love. People are going crazy over Sam Flannel. I love it. This is a great Monday morning. This is the type of energy I need today. I do need it. Don't forget, if you can't watch the show live, you can always catch it, re-listen to it. Any podcast platform you listen to, leave a 5-star review. Morning Woodward Show. Don't forget about it. WoodwardSports.com for all the latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise. All on the website, which you can get hats like this, the Woodward Sports app. But let's get into more preseason. Another thing Dan Campbell talked about yesterday, or over the weekend, I should say, is he talked a little bit about Jared Goff. And we're going to get into this Jared Goff discussion, but don't forget, we're going to leave the phone lines open. So anytime you guys want to call, talk about whatever you want to talk about, JB is going to hold it down for you. If you want to talk about JMO, the rookies, the preseason, anything, call the phone lines, and we'll try to bring you on. But let's stick on Jared Goff. What's going on?
Are you laughing at Kevin Bell's comment?
Yeah. What?
Kevin Bell said Sam Flannel is the biggest hemorrhoid in sports.
That was funny. It even got me to laugh out loud. I don't usually
Flannel to laugh.
Oh my gosh, man. What the hell? All right, well, good man. Kevin Bell coming in. Hopefully Kevin Bell can call. We'll get to talk to Kevin Bell. Let's see. Adam Baydoun says, let the people call in and shower Flannel Sam in compliments.
I cannot wait.
Oh, I love it. So let's get to this Jared Goff stuff. Do you have the graphic?
Oh, yeah.
All right, throw the graphic up. This is what Dan said about Jared. I'm telling you, man, the more they speak, and I get why they have to say this, they're indicating something. He says, when you have a quarterback you believe in, why would you ever move on, right? And that's the biggest thing with Jared. And I think there's big expectations for Jared to come out this year and produce once again. And for all the people that are Hendon Hooker lovers and they think Hendon's going to be the future of this team, to be fair, we don't know what the hell. And that's JB pointing at himself. We don't know what Hendon Hooker is. We don't know if he's even good, to be honest with you. We don't. He could be trash. And that's the point. And that's the benefit of having a guy like Jared Goff. Mm-hmm. You have a guy who is a franchise quarterback. Now, is he a guy you want to pay $50 million to? I guess it depends. That's subjective. It depends on who you ask. Would you be willing to pay that type of money for Jared? But I can say this. They have a dude in-house that I don't mind if they extend. I don't. Jared Goff, if Hendon Hooker doesn't show what they expect him to show, and only the coaching staff is going to have a view on that, than us, the people that talk about it and watch Lions games. If they don't think Hendon Hooker's progressing, you have a guy in-house that has proven he can win. He can win playoff games. He can win a division. Hell, he's made it to a Super Bowl. Not saying, he's going to make it this year, but you never know. They have a good enough quarterback already in-house, and a lot of teams in the NFL can't say that same thing, Sam Flannel. So all I'm saying is, regardless of what Hendon Hooker is, could be great, he could suck. They have a guy currently in Jared Goff who can hold it down for the future.
Well, and at some point you have to just trust the coaching staff and their evaluations of Hendon Hooker. Maybe not so much this year in full, but as years go on. And of course, you have to trust Brad Holmes, who has been the best GM in Detroit Lions history, and he's already showed that through 2 seasons and then 1 off season. I think he'll continue to show that as the years come on, and when the Lions win a playoff game and win the division this year, he most certainly will wear that crown. My thing, though, is with Jared Goff, obviously he's been very, very good. He was very good last year. He was very, very good to close out 2021 after being very, very not good when Anthony Lynn was his offensive coordinator, which was concerning in his own right. But that's the thing. Jared Goff, he has Ben Johnson this season. He has basically all of his weapons back except for DJ Chark plus more. Plus hopefully Jamison Williams for 11 games. And a great offensive line, everything. He has the situation around him to put up a year very, very similar to last year, if not equal it, if not even better. And I think the defense will be better, so that will translate to more wins for the Detroit Lions. So I am comfortable with the idea of extending Jared Goff maybe, but he has to validate what he did last year. Because right now, we can all agree he is under a team-friendly contract. But even if he, I would say, has a decent year next year and the Lions win, he might not be on, his demands might not be for a very team-friendly contract, and that's the problem. If Hendon Hooker is any good, and that's the thing, too. I know there were a lot of people, including, I wouldn't say a ton of people, but definitely the Woodward heavyweights from 5 to 7, even before the Lions drafted Hendon Hooker, that were just have been basically completely out on Jared Goff being the quarterback of the future. And I don't even necessarily blame them for that. But the fact that the Lions, they got Hendon Hooker in the 3rd round with what we all see as possibly a steal, possibly a first-round talent. That's got to say something. That's got to say that obviously they probably still believe in Jared Goff, ... for now.
Yeah, and
under these circumstances.
And that's not a bad thing, right? For people to say you always want to improve your team. There's always you look for excuse to improve, especially at the quarterback position, which a team like San Francisco does so often. They draft guys all the time. Now, for a guy like Hendon Hooker, whose upside is incredible, right? Like, and Brad even mentioned it. So if you don't believe me, go listen Inside the Den. Brad talked about it. Like the arm strength, the size, his leadership, the qualities he already has in place for Hendon Hooker. He's 25 years old. Like they like Hendon and they see the upside there, but there's never a guarantee that he's going to live up to that. Sure. There isn't. But there's the reason why you take him. He's a 3rd round pick, essentially risk free. If he doesn't work out, great. If he does, great. It doesn't matter. I mean, you already have a quarterback in place already that is willing to stay and is willing to accept an extension. So it's a win-win for the Lions. And again, Dan has to say this. What do you think? Dan's going to come out and say, yeah, Jared's all right. I think Hendon's better, though. We'll see. Like, no, of course he's going to give his 100% belief in Jared. And if I'm being real with you, I think Dan Campbell would prefer a veteran, to be honest with you. Yeah. I think that's how Dan kind of operates. He'd prefer a guy like Jared who's already proven he can win, rather than a guy that they really have no idea what they got in him in Hendon Hooker. So it goes both ways. And for Jared, he's got to live up. And when I talk about expectations, and I want to read this comment too, because this is, and I want to just read this because it kind of speaks to what we were already talking about. Randy P. Your opinion on Goff isn't worth a nickel. Goff has earned his position out of pure performance. End of discussion. Actually, it's not end of discussion. He had one good year. So, like, if we're going off like he's earned it after 1 year, that's your opinion. You think he's earned it after 1 year. I think he deserves, he needs one more year.
It ain't worth a nickel, Jeff. Not a nickel.
It isn't worth a nickel, though. So, hey, it is what it is. I respect you, Randy P. I thank you for joining, but I wouldn't say it's end of discussion. He's already proven he's the franchise quarterback. He had 1 year. Doesn't mean he's terrible. But for people to be like, yeah, sign him to $50 million after 1 year, like, all right, dude, I'm glad you're not general managing this team. I'm glad it's Brad Holmes.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not sure if I remember who made that comment, but I will say that to this person. Did you know, and this isn't me crapping on Jared Goff, which is, you know how the Detroit Lions just recently signed Teddy Bridgewater to be his backup. Did you know that in 2021, Jared Goff had a worse passer rating, a worse QBR, a worse yards per attempt, and a worse record as a starter than Teddy Bridgewater has had as a starter? My point is that Jared Goff, his career has been marked by some very, very good when he has had a perfect situation around him, and a lot of mid when that situation has become not as desirable, i.e. when Todd Gurley fell off and then retired in Los Angeles. I think this season, the one thing that Jared Goff has proven, and this is 100% fair, and I think is borne out by 3 years of evidence. If you have the perfect situation around him, if you have an offensive mind to call the plays, if you got like weapons and offensive line, Jared Goff can look very, very good. He was objectively the second best quarterback in the NFC, and he was putting up top 10 numbers in pretty much every major statistical category. But I'm still a little bit weary of the long-term, like, big money extension, and that's fair. He has to validate. Do it again.
I don't think it's unfair to say both things can be true, which is something I'd love to use because it is. It's true. Yes. No pun intended. Jared Goff had a great year last year. He was the second best quarterback in the NFC. I will keep preaching that. But then there's the other side of it. We just have to see a little more of it. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't want to pay Jared $50 million based off of just last season. But to be fair, last season is really the best roster Jared's had in Detroit so far. So both things can be true. And hopefully the defense will be even better this year. So Jared will have more talent, a better defense to support him. He should have another great year. That's what I expect out of Jared. But if he comes out and struggles, of course we got to have that conversation. There's the problem. It's either you want to extend Goff right now, but if you want to wait to see, you hate Goff. Like, there's no middle. Like, why can't I just be like, hey, I need to see it? Is that fair, Lucas?
And well, it's completely fair, and you have to take a season because look at what happened last time. I think we can all agree, outside of Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff is the best Lions quarterback probably in the team's history, no?
Since Bobby Lane. Yeah, but
okay,
you
get what I'm saying, yes. So we saw that Matthew Stafford, a more talented quarterback, we re-signed him for a lot of money for about 5 years, and we kind of just stayed in this rut where we couldn't get over it. Now, the Lions have a much better management now. They have a better GM, they have a better coach, and they have a more complete team. So I would say that Jared's in a better situation. But do you really want to invest into a guy that, to Flannel's point, and I agree, you got to make sure everything's right around him. And if you're extending him for 3, 4, however many years, and you're a Detroit Lions who have not won anything, that is a big gamble because we see the Dak Prescotts, we see the Kirk Cousins, and we see, I think will be very similar, will be Derek Carr in New Orleans with the Saints. Those are guys that you have to make sure everything is around them, and it's
right.
fine. But it's a big gamble to take to re-sign him, 1, off the bat, and 2, long term, because I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I need to see more, but it's risky because you could potentially be putting yourself in just like 3, 4 years of mid if Jared Goff kind of can't hold it together while we can't re-sign other players and there's injuries. Like, you're putting a lot of investment into it.
This is the problem I have, and this is why I love it. Super Saiyan Lions. Why is it that Woodward always wishes bad things for its own players? Like, what? What? Who said what? Like, dude, what? Like, this is what I'm talking about. That's the evidence right there.
I am the president of the Sam Laporta Hall of Fame Club, baby. We don't diss everybody here, but at some point you got to be critical of the players. Like, we like Jared Goff. It's not that we hate Jared Goff, but we also like the fact that the Lions are in Super Bowl contention mode for the next 3, 4 seasons.
Absolutely.
You want to keep a guy that you've seen can get to a Super Bowl, but he needed a lot around him. In LA, he had to have the Todd Gurley, Aaron Donalds, all that around him, and we have something similar to that. But are you willing to keep investing in that if you potentially have a better option with Hendon Hooker, who honestly opens up the ceiling with this offense when you have tools like Jamison Williams, because Hendon Hooker can throw a 70-yard bomb.
Yes. Chico Gee says, dude, what? LOL, Jeff sounds like a 14-year-old. Well, appreciate you, Chico Gee, for being in here for an hour and a half. I appreciate you for watching the show. Big time. Let's see. Terrell says, nobody should be talking about extending Jared in any way until the season is over. See, that's fair. Like, Terrell, but you'd be a hater. Watch out. You'll be a hater if you say that. That's how that works. And even for Jared Goff, for people that are saying he played, because I agree, he's a top 2 quarterback in the NFC. He was a top 10 quarterback last year. But we saw that out of Jared Goff in 2018. 32 touchdown passes, 12 picks, almost 5,000 yards. What happened in 2018 too, Sam Flannel?
In 2018,
what did the Rams do?
They went to the Super Bowl, but they
lost.
They put up 3 points.
They did, but just to clarify here, he was one of the better quarterbacks, in his conference in the league. He had a great year. Next 2 seasons had 29 interceptions.
Oh, you said the next season?
No, but that's my point. Like, he had a great year and then dropped off. Now it's a different situation, but. Forgive me if I'm a little skeptical. That's all. I want the Lions to make the best deal and have at least a quarterback that you can trust. And maybe Jared can be that guy. We shall see this season. Dan and Brad seem to believe in him, but I guess that a lot of that depends on also Hendon Hooker. Sure. So in contract negotiations and how much Jared's actually commanding for money.
And one more point, because I see a lot of people saying in the chat, like, every quarterback needs that. Exactly. So are you willing to extend Jared Goff and pay him more money when every quarterback needs to be surrounded by weapons outside of like Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow? So are you willing to give him more money so now you have to decrease that or roll on that with the rookie quarterback contract and Hendon Hooker will probably be in year 2, year 3, year 4, etc. And you keep that talent around him. So that's my point, is like, do you really want to invest that when you're potentially losing the supporting cast or at least some key parts?
Yeah, like Jake says, I would say if he's lights out midseason, contract talks start to gain steam. Yeah, I agree with that. It's a big year for Dan Campbell as well. Like, Dan isn't absolved from pressure either. Dan Campbell so far, one season, 9-8. Okay, let's go see it. Win your division, win a playoff game, win your at least win 10, 11 games. Be the best team in your division. Be one of the better teams in the NFC. That's Dan's job. And if you can't do that, I'm not going to look at Jared. We're going to look at everybody, and Dan included, because he's not absolved either, Sam Flannel. He just isn't.
Well, yeah. I mean, who's saying that Dan Campbell's not under any pressure? Because I certainly think, I mean, you can look at 4 games in the last 2 seasons in which his coaching decisions late in games negatively impacted them. I think both Dan Campbell and Jared Goff have a lot to prove this year. I think they both will prove it. I think it's set up for them to do that. But you never know. They both, I mean, I would say Dan Campbell is a lot more unproven in the NFL as a whole than Jared Goff. So I know we all like him. I know we all love what the team did to end the season. But Dan Campbell's got a lot to prove too.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
that's
does.
fair.
But this is what happens when you have a good team.
Sure.
Storylines, pressure, guys are under pressure. This is what, welcome everybody. Like, this is what you want. Like, good organizations, teams that are winning games or are expected to win games, there's pressure. So it's not a bad thing to say, Dan, Jared, there's guys under pressure. Of course, this is what you want. Now, we expect them to live up to those expectations, but we shall see. And this is why I'm so excited for this upcoming season, because there's a lot of storylines to be paying attention to. We're going to go to break. When we get back, we're going to kind of preview some of the other storylines in the NFL, discuss them over this preseason weekend. Jordan Love was playing, Kenny Pickett, some of the rookie quarterbacks. I know you loved Anthony Richardson's debut.
I liked what I saw of it outside of the interception. I thought it looked better than C.J. Stroud's for the most part.
Oh, here we go. So now we're nitpicking.
They had a kind of reverse thing. They had Alec Pierce wide open down the field for a touchdown. Anthony Richardson dropped in a bucket, and Alec Pierce dropped it. So Anthony Richardson also could have had a better looking debut, but his best receiver dropped the ball. C.J. Stroud, his best receiver that game was a safety or a linebacker. I can't remember, but did not look good.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? We'll go to break. When we get back, we'll discuss all that and more. But before we do that, Sam Flannel, could you tell everybody about Swiss Insurance?
Oh, Swiss Insurance, absolutely. Because now that summer's here, it is certainly time to get the best insurance you can possibly get. Just fumbling around with it a little bit. Do I not have it? That is, I do have it. There it is. There it is.
There we
this
go,
is important to make sure
Flannel.
you are properly covered. Whether it's a grad party or just a group of people over to enjoy the lake or pool, your liability exposure increases significantly in summertime. Let the Swiss Insurance Group review your coverage and make sure you are protected from an unexpected loss. Check us out at SwissINS.com or call Mark today at 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177. Swiss Insurance.
Gabby is a college student struggling to study for her big exam. Then she discovered Syntron, a healthy way for her to stay awake and focus. Jennifer frequently has chaotic days like this until she gets online, orders some Syntron, and finds her groove. April visited her local grocery store, purchased a case of Syntron, and entered to win the Syntron 100K Vegas giveaway. Pick up your case of Syntron today at any Meijer location or visit drinksyntron.com/Vegas and enter for the 100K Vegas giveaway.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
Think you can play some golf? How about beating a professional athlete? It's the Woodward Sports Thursday Night Golf League live at 5 Iron Golf, presented by Mark White and Associates, spanning 12 consecutive weeks featuring famous courses from around the world. Played on state-of-the-art TrackMan simulators in 5 Iron Golf's new 25,000 square foot facility in downtown Detroit. Can you beat Darren McCarty on hole number 12 at Augusta National? What about outperforming Braylon Edwards on hole number 8 at Pebble Beach? Do you have what it takes? I certainly probably do not, but you guys might. So go to 5 Iron Golf and especially join us on our Thursday night league. It's 5 Iron Golf.
We're back here on the Morning Woodward Show on Woodward Sports Network. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, supporting the show. Don't forget, hit the like button. We're almost at 230. We'll try to get to 250 by the end of the show. A little more to get to. Preseason football we're going to talk about. We're going to get to what's trending with Lucas. And, of course, we got mailbag as usual. But for right now, don't forget, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. If you can't catch the show live, you can always go back and re-listen on any podcast platform you listen to podcasts. Morning Woodward Show. Leave a 5-star review. Preseason football, though. Man, I've never been so invested into meaningless football like I am every year to preseason football. I love it. It really means that the NFL season is upon us. The Kool-Aid is upon us. All the things we hope to see in every single week, man, the best sport, at least in the U.S., is going to be live. So I can't wait. But some of the takeaways I had, and we only have a couple minutes here, so I just want to bring up one storyline and get everyone's thoughts on it. Jordan Love, we got to see his debut. He had one touchdown drive, and he was out of there. 7 for 10, 46 yards, a touchdown to Romeo Doubs. Sean Clifford, though.
Oh my. Bomb.
Sean Clifford.
Sean Clifford was out there as well, but Jordan Love, he didn't look too bad. I can't say that. Now, I don't know what I'm going to get out of Jordan Love come the regular season because he wasn't playing against starters, but not bad. He played 2 series. I mean, he only had 12 plays. 4 for 5 on that drive. Touchdown off of play action. What do you think?
I mean, he didn't do anything spectacular, but he looked fine. I mean, if Jordan Love, all he really has to do this year is not mess it up and make a play every once in a while. And I think the Packers will be in contention, at least for a wild card spot, up until the end of the year. I don't think Jordan Love fell on his face. I thought he looked just fine for the most part. Lucas, I know you're like very big on the Jordan Love is a bum side. What'd you think?
I mean, he did have that touchdown pass, but he also missed a wide open crosser.
Yes, he did.
I believe it was 2nd or 3rd down to the tight end, and that's like, okay, you made the touchdown throw, but you couldn't hit the easy crosser that would keep the moves changing or the chains moving. And that's the whole thing with Jordan Love. It's like, you don't know what you're getting, and by 3 or 4 years by now, you'd think you'd be able to hit that. I know it's just one preseason game, but I think this is the whole problem with the Packers in general trusting in Jordan Love. You don't know what you're getting, and with the spot that they are in with the franchise right now, in my opinion, coming off of Aaron Rodgers and you're going to Jordan Love, you should know what you're getting out of Jordan Love, and I still don't think the Packers do.
Kiazi said, true for Magoo. We didn't see Magoo.
Yeah, I'm surprised Clifford was out there for so long when you have Alex Magoo.
Oh, yeah. Alex Magoo, I think he was out there for a couple plays. He didn't even have a completion. He just got sacked. So, Magoo, unfortunately, Green Bay legend, may not touch the field this year. Man. But unfortunate for Packers fans.
The former CFL star.
Yeah, Alex Magoo, man. Really, the guy that could have became the GOAT, but just never had the opportunity. Now, the other storyline I personally favor, Jalen Carter. Jalen, hey, I'm not trying to start anything because people are going, Woodward Sports starts drama. I'm not trying to start drama, but you can't deny, man, Jalen Carter's first snap. And we talk about you want to see guys separate themselves from guys that probably are struggling or will not make the roster. Jalen Carter went out there and said, yeah, move. I'm here. I'm a first-round pick, and I'm that dude. And he showed it. I know it's preseason, but I'm excited to see Jalen Carter.
I mean, to this day...
Maybe not against the Lions, but I'm excited to see him.
To this day, and this isn't a diss on the Detroit Lions. This isn't a diss on Brad Holmes. I trust him implicitly. But to this day, if you would have... Yes, to this day, if you would have had GM Flannel Sam, I would have taken Jalen Carter if he was available. So it's not like I'm going to be following his career that close because I think Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell are going to be very good, or maybe even to great at some point. But what if Jalen Carter does as well? What if Jalen Carter is a guy that you look at this year as if you plugged him into the Detroit Lions interior defensive line, he would be the best player. Well, I mean, I think that's very, very possible. So he's always going to be maybe a ghost that looms heavy over Detroit. But you know what? I think the Lions will be good this year, so it might not matter.
Yeah, and Jalen Carter, there's so many questions about him off the field. I have to give more of a sample size to see if this man can even hold up in the NFL. Like, there's a lot of things that are happening off the field for Jalen Carter. So character concerns, Brad Holmes wanted nothing to do with that. So I understand why they didn't take him. But, man, it's hard not to watch Jalen Carter. I know he had a small sample size and wonder. Now, Broderick Martin was out there for the Lions. Just a massive human being, by the way. Like, if we're talking about who the defensive tackle they drafted, that dude is massissive. And I'm excited for Broderick.
He made a tackle, didn't he? I think it may be like a...
Yeah, he made a couple plays.
Yeah.
But regardless, I don't want to ask you, your first reaction seeing Broderick Martin out there, the size this man possesses.
It makes me, like, just watching Broderick Martin, how big this man is, it makes me perfectly okay with us passing on Jalen Carter when you realize we got Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta out of it too.
Yes.
Because the thing is, it's like we're acting like there's not going to be a free agent defensive tackle or defensive tackle next draft that Brad Holmes is going to be like, wow, and address it. Like, you really think, like, people acting like we didn't take Jalen Carter, acting like we're never going to re-sign or draft another defensive tackle in the Brad Holmes tenure. Like, relax. Like, we got 3 players that you could arguably, you have Isaiah Buggs, you have Broderick Martin, and you have
Benito Jones as well. But Lee McNeil is a starter.
Lee McNeil, I'm thinking of McNeil, who I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
But those guys, if you're going to tell me that they can't equal the production this year of what Jalen Carter will have in Philadelphia, like, I'm sorry. And by that time, we're already going to have more talent coming in with the D-line next year. Everybody, I get it. Like, Jalen Carter was a hell of a prospect, but there's multiple teams, not just the Lions, who passed up on Jalen Carter. And it's obviously for a reason. It's not denying the talent, but some people act like the Lions are never going to overcome passing on Jalen Carter. And it's like, we literally have Jahmyr Gibbs, potential Pro Bowler, who I think we all expect to be. Sam Laporta, you know my opinions on him, but most people think Sam Laporta is going to be very solid. And then Broderick Martin. I'm happy with that over Jalen Carter. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if Broderick Martin lives up to his potential, he's taking not even just this defense, but guys like Aiden, guys like James Houston, he's going to elevate their game, because there's no way that man will not command a double team if he's serviceable. He is massive. And I'm excited for his development. But I'm telling you, speaking of him turning this defense into an elite defense, I'll give you a defense that doesn't really need a lot of work to become elite. It's Guardian Alarm. They're already elite. They walk in the door elite, and they got to protect your household. They got customized solutions from real experts. They got 24/7 professional monitoring, and they got technology backed by wonderful people. All you got to do is call 1-800-STAY-OUT today. Tell them your friends at Woodward Sports sent you. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT today, and they'll take care of you.
YouTube chat. Slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
How about that rookie? He is something else. How big is that?
All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
When buying or selling real estate, flexibility and control over the sales process is key. Sellers, how would you like the freedom of canceling your listing agreement at any time for any reason with no penalty? That is exactly what Mark White & Associates offers. It's called the Minute-by-Minute Listing Agreement by Mark White & Associates. Try Mark White's risk-free minute-to-minute listing agreement today. Looking to buy or sell real estate? Visit markwhitesells.com or call 248-290-8242. Again, that is 248-290-8242. markwhitesells.com, where flexibility meets success.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. We appreciate every single one of you for taking the time out of your morning to join us. 15 minutes left of the show. Still some more to get to. What's trending with Lucas? Check your watch. You know what time it is. What do you got for us, Lucas?
I will make this snappy because there's a lot of preseason questions, I'm sure, so we'll get to a mailbag for sure. But there's a couple things I wanted to go over, and one of them, we just talked about the Jared Goff slander. Well, one thing we can be happy about is Jared Goff, when he's out in Allen Park, he is not looking like this. Look at Kyler Murray, okay? I'm sorry, and I get that this is a heart monitor maybe, possibly, but that thing, throw a shirt on over that thing, man. You're representing an organization. The last thing Kyler needs to be doing is dressing like this, and I just think it just adds to, like, what the hell is Kyler Murray doing with his life?
Is that man wearing a bra? What the hell is that?
It's a heart monitor, but the way he's standing right now, I think he decided to roll it up. Like, the heart monitor was probably full tank top, and he decided to roll it up. But man, Kyler, what are we doing, man? What are we doing?
He's just trying to let his stomach breathe. That's all.
Yeah, a bra? What the hell is that?
You gotta do better than that. Like,
I mean, start Clayton Tune right now, and start him for the rest of the season.
Hey, did you see Clayton Tune threw a touchdown, threw an interception as well? But
start Colt McCoy, dude. Like
no.
Kyler Murray. I don't know what in Public Enemy says zesty. I think
that sums it up.
That's
perfectly.
There you go. Public Enemy nailed it. Zesty. Wow. Okay.
But and then we'll keep it going. So they talked about. We always talk about the corners on here, but Pac-Man Jones and Chad Ochocinco, Chad Johnson, shared their top cornerbacks in the league, and I want to get your guys' opinion on what they had to say.
Can you tell me your top 3 corners right now in the NFL?
I love Darius Slay. Zaire Alexander. He's not getting the respect and love he deserves. AJ Terrell down there in Atlanta.
AJ Terrell did not make my list.
Pac, you serious?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you my list when you get through.
Jalen Ramsey. Where you got Rams at? Talk to me now. I know you got Ramsey.
Ramsey did not make my list.
Whoa, Pac.
Pac, what are we doing? Trayvon Diggs.
This is my list right here. Number 5, Darius Slay. Jair Alexander, I definitely think he should be on the list. He has been a dog. Humphrey, he didn't even allow a touchdown last year.
Well, is that good?
Right.
Sauce, it speaks for itself. He had an unbelievable year. He was around the ball the whole year. But this motherfucker right here, Patrick Surtain, he's by far the best that I've seen that line up.
One person that I believe deserves to be above all of them, Tariq Woolen out there in Seattle.
I don't know.
Disagreements on these ratings.
I like.
Man.
Now, Jeff, you know I like the little tidbit that Chad Ochocinco threw in there at the end about Tariq Woolen. But my thing that I took away from this, and I've been seeing a lot from around the league, is Jalen Ramsey slander. Now, me personally, I couldn't name you outside of Troy Hill maybe last year for the Rams, the DB they had in that secondary. And Jalen Ramsey was still producing out there.
Yeah, I don't.
So Jalen Ramsey, in my eyes, he's easily a top 5 corner in this league still. What are your guys' opinions?
I guess that's the issue too, because Pac-Man, I respect his opinion. If I want to ask about corners, I'm going to Pac-Man. But at the same time, like, what the hell is that? Jalen Ramsey? Like AJ Terrell, I could see, but like
over Ramsey?
No. I'm saying like if he's like, all right, AJ, I wouldn't. I'm not going to anoint him yet. I get that, but But Jalen Ramsey's that dude. Like he's pretty much just a given to me on top cornerbacks.
I mean, I really like that he showed Marlon Humphrey love, but let's be honest here. Jalen Ramsey's still better than Marlon Humphrey and some of those other guys on the list.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that.
JB, your thoughts?
I mean, here's one thing that I took away from it. Pat Surtain the second at number 1. And
He's a dog.
You know what's funny, though, and this is me kind of relating it to Big D Energy because I do that quite a bit. I once posed the question to the panel up here. I won't name any names. I kind of said, like, who's better? Sauce Gardner or Pat Surtain, and they looked at me like I had just like I was on drugs. It's like obviously Sauce Gardner.
Oh,
but,
what?
But people don't realize how good Patrick Surtain the second is.
Yeah.
He might be, by the end of this year, you might be talking about him as the best corner in the NFL.
I mean, again, this is no diss to Sauce, but
Yeah.
Sauce also has DJ Reed on the other side.
Sure.
Can you tell me the Broncos' other corner?
I can't.
Both of them have safety help, so
Justin
you can't
Simmons,
use that. Both of them have safety help.
Yeah, like I mean, Pat's an All-Pro.
Yeah.
In his second year.
But JB, your thoughts on this, so we can get to some mailbag?
Yeah, he's that dude.
I just don't see AJ Terrell on this list. I mean, I wouldn't put him on my list, but it is what it is. I know Ochocinco was a little upset about that, but still at the same time, like, I'm not putting him up there. And I can't slander Jalen Ramsey either. Like, everything I've seen from the dude is still top notch.
I mean, look, he almost single-handedly got the Lions in the playoffs last year. What was it, 18 against the against the Seahawks. Like, that's all I need to see. Jalen Ramsey still has that dog in him. But we'll be back tomorrow. Let's get into some mailbag, fellas.
Let's do it. Let's get in the mailbag. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Dispo. Because, guys, I'll tell you what. You can experience the true meaning of exceptional cannabis products with Dispo Dispensary. Indulge in the finest selection of cannabis curated with care. With over 10 locations, Dispo is never too far away. Visit disposhops.com today and unlock a world of endless possibilities in the realm of cannabis. That is disposhops.com, your local cannabis plug.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
How would you like a 100K Vegas getaway? Take your closest friends and live it up in the city that never sleeps. It's the Cintron Energy. Drink it and live it. Purchase a 24-pack today, and you're already entered the 100K Vegas getaway. DrinkCintron.com/Vegas. Buy a Cintron at your local Meijer. Cintron, the healthier energy drink with great taste and the choice of people who desire to look good, feel great, and be the best versions of themselves. Again, that's DrinkCintron.com/Vegas. We're off and running. Last 10 minutes, 9 minutes to be exact, of the Morning Woodward Show here on Woodward Sports Network. We appreciate you guys. Don't forget to hit a like before you leave. We much appreciate it. But it's mailbag time. Get your questions ready. We have a special guest joining us as well, Michael Gentry. Care to join us? He's in the chair hanging out with the boys, so appreciate you, Michael.
Go!
The GOAT. Let's get to some of these questions, though. Fire them off. Let's see here, because I saw some coming in already. Steve asked, did anyone watch Peter Schrager's Lions broadcast? I heard it was really good with great guests. Yes, Darren McCarty made an appearance as well. Shout out to D-Mac. He held it down. We weren't able to watch it because we were at the game, but did anybody else catch it?
I didn't catch it live. I was out, so I watched it with no sound. What about you, JB?
No, I didn't get to catch it. I mean, it probably would have been better than what the Fox one I was watching, but still.
And I see this one too. John Lord McAfee still owes to own up his bet with the Lions versus Green Bay. Yes, he does. And I think his first show will be out in Detroit, his first remote show. So can't wait for that. But Pat's going to live up to that. He already mentioned it. Let's see. Oh, Jason R. Mailbag. I have an excellent helmet for Sam to protect more stupidity. What address can I mail it to? Sam, I am truly concerned.
What did I say? Imagine if they send him one of those foam helmets, you know what I'm talking about? So you don't hit yourself.
That's tough, like a dunce cap or something like that? Damn, that's messed up. Eric Allen, Mailbag. Why is no one talking about the 62-yard touchdown Fields threw to DJ Moore that was 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage,
that's a good point to bring
which
up.
was thrown low and behind Moore that he took to the house? What a great QB Chicago has. Yeah. And I know people are like, Justin Fields, they found their quarterback one.
You know what?
He looked all right.
I was really hoping we would get to this in a previous segment, but we didn't. But I have to tell this quick little story. I won't take too long. So I didn't get a chance to really keep up with the Bears preseason game. I was out. I eventually made my way onto Lady Jane's, and as I was leaving, I looked at my phone and I saw from one of the group chats, I'm not going to say which one, Justin Fields, 3 for 3, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's like, man, this guy's going to be good. And I'm talking as a Justin Fields supporter and believer. I looked at the actual touchdown passes and it's like little screen to DJ Moore, run for a touchdown. Little screen pass to the best running back on the 2022 Chicago Bears, Khalil Herbert.
See, Flannel, we don't have time for this.
But that's the thing. It wasn't, there's a lot of context that went along with that ridiculously great stat line. It wasn't Justin Fields. It was these quick little easy throws that it was some great play design and yards after catch. It wasn't Justin Fields. I think you or I could have made that throw, and I like Justin Fields.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No, you're good. What do you want to say?
But this is the thing why people the Justin Fields, people getting MVP votes, it's going to happen because of plays like this. But the thing is, now he has playmakers where when Justin Fields gets out of the pocket, he has the DJ Moores of the world, where not only is DJ Moore going to be creating plays, but that's also going to allow Justin Fields for when he starts making plays, because at the end of the day, you can't game plan for everything Justin Fields does. He's going to break down your defense. When you have DJ Moore sitting out there like that, it's going to be scary. It's going to lead to a lot of production. I'm telling you, it's going to be like a Walmart, Hurts, and A.J. Brown. Doesn't mean they're going to add up to a bunch of wins, but that duo is going to be deadly, even if it is little slant routes and stuff like that. DJ Moore is going to expand Justin Fields' ceiling for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no doubt. You get him a playmaker, it's only better now, especially if there's plays like that where you can just dump it off to DJ and he does the rest. Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's see here. Jamcat, do you want to see the starting O-line play the first half against the Jags? No, I don't. Because honestly, I don't need to see anything. I know they're elite. I'm good. I know people want to see them, and I know we really want to see starters, but at the same time, you kind of got to – guys that have already proven that they're above NFL talent, guys that are elite, I don't think they need to play. So I'm okay with not seeing the offensive line. I'm okay.
No, I would agree with that, and I hate to bring up this cliche. You don't want to see anybody play an unnecessary preseason game and get hurt. As much as we like to kind of think that's not going to happen, it happens every preseason to someone who you expect to wreck the league, and then they go down with an ACL in preseason. We don't want to see that for the Lions.
Hoof-hearted says Fields best QB of all time. Extend that man to a lifetime contract. Yeah, that's fair. Chuck Brewer, of all the traits that Sam picked up from Neil, is to troll the show. LOL.
I mean, Khalil Herbert
Your comment.
had 5.7 yards per carry last year, and Justin Fields had 7.1.
Around this so many times.
I understand that, but David Montgomery was the third greatest rushing threat on the Bears last year. I'm just saying.
Nah, yeah, you can say whatever you want to say, Sam Flannel. I can't wait for this season. I really can't, man. So many of these opinions will be answered once the season comes along. So we just got to get there. Jesse Adams, mailbag. Speaking of Jesse Adams, you still have that bet with him about James Mitchell.
Oh, we do, and I'm still confident.
You're still confident? James Mitchell, what is it, more touchdown passes, James Mitchell or Sam Laporta through the first 3 or 4 games?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. For anybody that doesn't know that, Lucas is tied in. What is it, $50 or something like that?
50. We'll do 50 screws.
50 screws.
Every day that my payment's not made, I'm adding 1.5 points.
Okay. Well, there you go. Jesse asks, Jeff and JB, are you guys ready for this big UFC card this weekend? By the way, O'Malley is going to take that L. Second question, Lucas, did you see your boy DTR doing work the last 2 games? Number one, I will be catching the fight this weekend. I'm excited.
I will as well.
JB will as well. I'll be actually going up to Caseville this weekend, so I'll find a way to watch it, no doubt. But DTR, many said he wouldn't play in the league, and he's not too bad. Like a preseason. There you go.
You see him give the bird, too? You seen they were talking to him on the sideline? He goes, no, DTR, man, he's definitely going to be the Browns' backup, in my opinion. I think he should earn a roster spot after these last 2 performances because the kid's electric. I understand he doesn't have the strongest arm, but when you talk about a viable backup quarterback that can go in there, change the pace of the game, he can create plays, and they have a lot of playmakers around him. So I think he's a lock, in my opinion, if he continues to play this way to make the Browns roster.
And Jesse corrected and said it's 100. So
100? I'm fine with that. Keep bringing it up.
Oh, okay. All right. But
hey, would you remember T.J. Hawkinson's first game as a Lion? I think 2-3 touchdowns in Arizona.
Yeah.
Telling me Sam Laporta can't get that in 2-3 weeks.
The thing I do respect about Lucas is he's putting his money where his mouth is. So he believes that Sam Laporta is that dude, and he's willing to put up 100 bones for it. So I respect it, Lucas.
I'll still be president of the Sam Laporta Hall of Fame Club.
Okay. Well, that one I can't wait for. I can't wait for it. Again, his take will be confirmed in 15 years. So that's a fair take. We'll never know until his career is over. But that's all for today's show. Again, guys, we appreciate every single one of you for taking the time to join us on this Monday morning to recap some Lions preseason football. Can't wait. Plenty more to get to this week. Still, a lot of things we didn't even get discussed that we can get to later this week, and we'll get around to it. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz, and Michael Gentry joining us because we love Michael Gentry. Man is just a beast. BMG.
BMG.
That's what they call him. Again, appreciate you guys. Drop a like before you leave. Until tomorrow, we'll see you later.